So I can go home and have a bowl of soup.
It's gonna be a late one.
Gentlemen, I'm going to call the meeting to order. Good evening, everybody. I don't think it's been an awful long time since I saw this many people in the gallery. I don't know if that's good or bad, but it is a pleasure to see. Well, my microphone's on, Mr. Ritter, so it is a pleasure to see so many people here tonight, and this is Democracy in Progress, and it's always good to have everybody here. So welcome. I would like to remind everybody to please silence your electronic devices, including up here on the dais. I know one of us is going to be the offender one of these days. And if you would please rise and join me in the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Lord, we thank you tonight for the gifts of community and freedom. We thank you for our wonderful city, our terrific staff, and all the volunteers in our community who help make Temple Terrace amazing. We ask your blessings on our meeting tonight. Help us to make wise decisions that reflect our commitment to our core values of responsiveness, excellence, safety, professionalism, ethics, consistency, and transparency. Help us always to keep these values at the forefront of everything we do. We ask these things as one community, united in the goal of achieving the common good. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Our first order of business is recognition of Florida College students and Florida City Government Day. I'd like to call Dr. Ray Madrigal to the podium. Welcome, Doctor. So,
Good to be here.
very good. So I have a certificate of recognition for you and your students, and I would just like to share with the public about the recent Government Day that we did here in Temple Terrace. This is, Charles, what is this, the second or fourth time? Okay. And what this day is, it's a wonderful partnership between the city and the Florida College, and they bring 12, 13, 14 of their students over, and they spend about a half a day with us, and they usually spend it with one of our directors, and they will role play the director of that department. This year, we were fortunate to be able to get our entire council to come, and so instead of spending the day with the directors, they spent the day with each of us. And so our mayor is here this evening. And so we spent an hour and a half or so with them kind of discussing our role and the life of elected office and the issues that we face. And then at the conclusion of that, they hold a mock city council meeting up on the dais, and we sit out in the gallery. And we also have one student who role plays the city manager and one role plays the city attorney. And so we've prepared them for about an hour and a half for this meeting. And I have to tell you, folks, they did a tremendous job. In fact, some of us commented that we're going to let them get them up here instead of us, because they did a really good job. So I really just want to commend the Florida College and the students and all the staff that were involved in this. It's a tremendous opportunity, and I wish we had the resources to do this for other universities and colleges. I don't know how many times we could block a whole day out because we had all the directors here, and really Mr. Stevenson kind of halts the operations of the city for really a half a day just to do this, so, and then all the preparation for this. So I do have a certificate of recognition. It says it's presented on the second day of November 2021 to Dr. Ray Madrigal and the Florida College students in recognition of their outstanding efforts in achieving a successful Florida City Government Day. And it's signed by the mayor and the entire council. So would you like to say a few words, sir?
Well, I would just say that it's a partnership. We've heard the story about it takes a village for children, and we have young people. We're blessed at Florida College to have over 500 wonderful young people. And to have a partnership with the city like we're developing over these years is wonderful, to give the students a first-hand look at municipal government, what it means to be civic servants and to be involved in service of the community. And it ranks as the #1 experiential learning opportunity every year for our students that are involved in many different types of internships, field experiences, service learning opportunities, and the Temple Terrace Government Day is #1 consistently. And so you're to be commended, to be committed to the service of young people in this community. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Get the kids up there.
Come on up here, guys.
Great job.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Well, that cleared up 6 seats. Next order of business is a presentation from the Temple Terrace Golf and Country Club to provide a semi-annual or thereabouts update. Temple Terrace Golf and Country Club General Manager Jim Music will provide an update. Mr. Music, good evening, sir. Good evening. It's good to see you.
Is this thing? Good evening, Mayor and council members and staff. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to come and speak with you. I think it's been a while since we've been here. I think the last one was the last irrigation project update that we came and spoke to you about. So a few more things tonight. If I'm operating this thing correctly? Okay. Just to give you a little current status of our membership, we currently have 544 members at the staff. That's from golf members to pool and social members. We have approximately 117 senior voting golf members. That's our full-fledged membership that we have at the club. And one of the things that we implemented was a young executive golf for 30 and under and 31 to 40. And one of the slides that's coming up is one of the concerns that we have when we first started taking over the club was the actual age of the average age of the membership. So our goal is, for the last 3 years, is to try and bring that membership average down. And I'll explain that in a little bit. One of the things I did want to mention that I do have our president, Don Whittemore, with me tonight, so I do have reinforcements just to let you know. And Mr. Nertney, our vice president, is also here. Thank you, John. So I'd be happy to save a little time at the end to answer any questions, but keeping it going. The irrigation project that we talked to you about here a few months back, our anniversary for the completion of that project is coming up December 31st of 2021. So the full irrigation project will have been online 1 year, the end of this calendar year in December. I will let you know that we had a requirement with the Swift Mud agreement that we honor the 33% aquifer savings that when we applied for the grant money, and I will let you know that we're actually ahead of that target currently. So I don't think I think they kept $1,000 of our in escrow, of which we'll be able to get refund once we submit the documents that's required after the first of the year. One of the reasons for that is this weather station that we have on property actually measures the amount of water that's given from the man upstairs. And when that happens, this automatically sends a signal to our irrigation system that decreases the water output for that night. So this thing has been a godsend to us with meeting our obligation with the requirements with Swift Mud. The other thing that we've done since we met last is we've started our tree reestablishment program. We have 15 pine trees that we've planted on the golf course and 2 magnolia trees. We have an additional 10 pine trees that we're going to be putting in here probably within the next month. So we'll be up to 25 trees of the trees that we took out during the irrigation project. We're in the process of bringing that back. And I'm sure all the community knows of what the arborist, Joe and Charles, has done with the crepe myrtles on Druid and Bannockburn and throughout the whole Temple Terrace community. So we are in the process of meeting our obligation with putting the trees back that we did take out for the irrigation system. We've been really busy this year. The membership has been very, very gracious, and with Mr. Nertney's help in obtaining grants from the Historical Society downtown, Hillsborough County Historical, we've been able to do a number of capital projects that was much needed at the country club. A new roof. We've resurfaced all 3 pools. We've added 6 new T complexes. And with the Board of Directors' recent issuance of a voluntary assessment program to the membership, we were fortunate enough to raise enough money to buy all new golf course equipment. So that is now all been delivered and received, and it's making wonders with conditions of the golf course. So that's a very added benefit to the club. The challenges, I put down like what I thought was 3 major things that we're working on with in the next little bit here. Our banquet revenue is not returning to what we had hoped prior to COVID. We were on a record path with the country club in terms of banquet revenue with weddings, Christmas parties, outside corporate events, those type of things. We're seeing a little bit of increase come back, but not to the point to where it was in 2018 and 2019 for sure. So hopefully this next year, if things continue on the path that we're on, that we'll start seeing a little bit more favorable in that area. As I mentioned earlier, with the young executive membership category, one of the things that we're trying to do is decrease the average age of the membership of the club. I think we currently have 57 young executive golf members at the club, and that's reduced the age, I think, since 2018 by 4 years. So we are headed down in the right path, and that's one of our main objectives, is to input more young members into the club. The last item of which we've been in contact with Charles and the city arborist is we're concerned about the trees that are maturing on the golf course, specifically the laurel oaks, and there's a few Australian pines that are left. The laurel oaks has reached their maturity age. They're starting to die at a pretty quick and rapid pace. We continually see falling limbs daily at the golf course for cleanup, and hopefully we can address that situation collectively, because I think we've met with the SAC committee, Councilman Schisler and Mr. Gorlich several times here in the last 6 or 8 months, and this is one of the items that we've been discussing. So hopefully we can do something with that. I'm sure we're not the only affected part of the community that has these laurel oaks. So with that, be happy to answer any questions if anybody has anything.
Council members?
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Music.
All right, thank you, Mayor.
Good is Mr. Nertney, Mr. Whittemore, thank you for coming.
Hey, John.
Very good. Next item of business is a presentation by the Arts Council recognizing the 48th Annual Arts Festival, and Temple Terrace Arts Council Vice President Sharon Gaskin is here to present. Welcome, Mrs. Gaskin.
Well, you never know what sign I'm going to bring next. Here's one. Hopefully you've seen. Yes. Hello. Hello, Mayor,
Hi.
City Council, staff. Thank you for having me. I'm Sharon Gaskin, and yes, I've brought another sign. I think Mrs. Donahue is going to make sure that all of you take one home tonight to put in your yards. I hope you've seen them all around the community, because your Arts Council has been working so hard this year to make sure that the 48th Annual Arts and Crafts Festival truly could take place. Last year we had a virtual festival, and that was not quite as rewarding as having the real thing. And so this year, under those majestic oaks in Woodmont Park, we'll be having our 2-day festival. We're expecting a crowd. People really want to come. We've already set record attendance in terms of our artists and our crafters. They're bursting at the seams to come out and sell their goodies and their art and their creations. It's a great way to get Christmas shopping done and to buy one-of-a-kind items. I hope we'll see all of you there. There'll be live music 2 days in a row. I have a New Orleans second tier band. We have some local musicians. We have actually Florida College students performing this year, as well as King High School students. And our favorite Fran Johns, the dance lady. So we have lots of wonderful people coming to perform. This is free for the general public. And we could not do this festival without 2 really big community partners, and that is the Parks and Recreation Department of the city and the country club, the Temple Terrace Golf and Country Club. Those are 2 very, very valuable community partners that make this event happen. And make it what it is. Of course, the other important partner is our city and our residents, and they come out in full force for this event, and we're so looking forward to having our live event the 13th and 14th of November, Saturday and Sunday. It's always a 2-day event from 10 in the morning to 4 in the afternoon. I hope I'll see you all there eating corn dogs and listening to music. Thank you.
Good, thank you, Mrs. Gaskin. I think our Arts Council President, Councilmember Schistler, would like to say a few words.
Really? Chambers.
Chambers, I'm sorry. I'm trying to do 3 things at the same
I'm not quite
time.
on my job.
I'm sorry, James.
It's okay, quite. The Arts Council had a golf carts at the rec center event Saturday night, Fall Festival. And one of the things that we passed out to the children besides candy were little coloring sheets of different things of Temple Terrace. So these are some of them. And what I've got for you, council, tonight, and department heads, is I have packets of these coloring sheets. So send those down, and your crayons. So sometime during next week, if you, department heads and council, turn those in to the city clerk at the end of next week, and they'll be on display at the Arts Festival. So we'll see how good you go, because part of our job is to bring the artist out in everyone, so,
You mean I gotta stay in the lines?
yes. Yes, you have to stay in the lines.
Low standards, council member.
Yes, anyway, that's it. Please, everybody, please come out to the Arts Festival, the 48th year, a great event.
Vice Mayor Donahue, did you want to?
Well, thank you, Mrs. Gaskins. You're absolutely right. The council, Arts Council, you know, we work all year to bring art to the community, and you know where those are. They're the murals, the street art. Many of you participated in some of the things we did to keep our spirits up during the pandemic. So this is not the only thing we do. But this is our premier event for the year. So hopefully everybody will come out. Like she said, it's free to attend. We have parking at the Little League field and at Temple Terrace Elementary. And of course, if you live here, you can ride your bike over or your golf cart. You know, you don't even need to bring a car. So hope to see you there. It's pretty impressive. We're the oldest established arts festival in Hillsborough County. So tip of the hat to Temple Terrace for hanging in there all these years. So hope to see you there. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. All right, next item of business is the approval of the October 19th City Council meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second?
Motion and a second. Any corrections to the minutes? If not, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Minutes are approved. Next item are persons wishing to be heard on items not listed on the agenda or items on the consent agenda. I have a long list of people that wish to speak today. We do have a rule that we haven't always had, so if you haven't been here for a while, and I don't know if this will be necessary tonight or not, but we have a rule now that we limit public comment on items not on the agenda to 30 minutes. And then if there's time, extra time needed, if we have more speakers that still wish to speak, we hear those speakers at the end of the meeting. And we do that just to make sure that our business, the people that are here for business, can get heard. So I don't know if we're going to run into that or not. I haven't counted these. So if you'll bear with me just a moment to organize them, I've got some new ones that have come in. Okay. The first person who requests to speak is Pat Martin. Welcome, Mrs. Martin, and I see that you have 4 minutes. City Clerk, if you would allow Mrs. Martin 4 minutes, please. Good evening, ma'am. And if we keep track of the 30 minutes too, please.
Mayor and Council, I have furnished you with a packet of information which includes a letter describing a serious noise problem we have in our neighborhood, along with a petition signed by several residents asking for relief. For the record, I would like to read the letter detailing the situation. Being trapped at a stoplight in a car vibrating to the booming bass of music blaring from the open window of an adjacent car has one advantage. You can drive away when the light changes. Unfortunately, I and my neighbors on Linda, Redwood, Ridgedale, and Oak Ridge don't have that advantage, as our neighbor insists on blasting our block for hours, most weekends and sometimes weekdays, with throbbing bass and raucous music emanating from her outdoor speakers. The homes of my neighbors immediately adjacent to her are experiencing the worst of the situation, but the vibration of the bass still carries to those of us who are a little further away. Calls to the police so far have been ineffective. They respond to calls and try to reason with the woman, but she is defiant and indicates she will turn the audio up louder. She also insists the law allows her to play her music until 10 o'clock, which the police confirm. The woman starts making her racket around 5 o'clock, sometimes earlier, expecting neighbors to endure the noise and have the peace of their homes disturbed for 5 or more hours with no relief in sight is unreasonable. So far, there have been numerous complaints filed with the department, and officers have verified that the noise is beyond what one would reasonably expect. A copy of that report is attached. In this case, the reference to 10 o'clock p.m. is not applicable, as the noise equals that of a sound truck, which is not allowed in the city. Unlike a sound truck, which eventually fades out of hearing, we are being robbed of the peace and enjoyment of our homes. At this point, when people are left struggling to ignore the penetrating noise while trying to go about their normal activities, such as putting children to bed, or coping with an illness, or simply trying to watch a TV program, this becomes a public nuisance. The situation conforms exactly to the provisions outlined in the City Code under Section 10-4, which defines public nuisances. It would seem also that Section 16-7A under noise control would apply in this case, rather than Section B5, which addresses the 10 o'clock deadline. Ours is a quiet neighborhood where people go about their business without imposing on anyone, yet readily lend a hand when needed. An occasional disruption, such as noise from a party, is tolerated, usually without complaint. We want to keep it that way and refuse to let this neighbor bully everyone into accepting her blaring speakers and defiant and inconsiderate behavior. We respectfully request council to take this matter into consideration and take effective action to bring it under control. Since the signing of this petition, we have learned that some action is being taken, but our intent in submitting this information to council is to provide emphasis for the need to take steps to strengthen the ordinance and coordination of city departments to ensure that this type of situation does not continue to reoccur now and in the future. And thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mrs. Martin. The next speaker is Allison Fernandez. Welcome, Mrs. Fernandez.
Allison Fernandez, hi. I am going to talk to you about redistricting. This morning, the school board held an emergency meeting for something that actually really was not an emergency because they've known about it for 10 years. And they've decided that they're going to redistrict within a month and a half. This means that there's going to be extremely challenging timing for people to get their public input in. And I know that you all and our residents are aware, Temple Terrace is currently split between two separate member districts. And then, of course, we have the two countywide districts. But what this means is, given our size and the way we're split, not one board member sitting on that board needs to win Temple Terrace in order to win their seat, which gives us very little political clout, as we've seen in years and years and years. So I just want to make sure that you all are aware that the timeline is going to be extremely rapid. The board members are supposed to be presenting their own maps, and they're going to be expected to turn them around, and they're going to vote on them December 16th, which in and of itself is, in my opinion, a complete violation of public access and our right to participate, but it is what it is. So I'm going to ask you all to weigh in and pay attention to this. I know the county commission has been redistricting since, I believe, February or March, and they've been putting maps out. But this is critical, vital to the community. You've all heard me say this so many times, but people choose the location of where they want to raise their family based on where they want to send their children to school, in addition to other factors. So it's a vital importance to the city of Temple Terrace, and I just want to make sure that you all are aware so that you can help get the word out and also participate in the process as well. So that's it.
Thank you, Ms. Fernandez. Next speaker is Joe Curtis. Welcome, Mr. Curtis.
Hello, my name's Joe, and I have the same issue about the music playing on Linda Avenue. Now, this is probably not near as well written as you just heard, but our neighbors play very loud music, often on school and work nights when most of us are trying to relax or prepare for the next day. Music's so loud it rattles our floors, and we can make out almost every word as if the speaker were sitting right next to us. Music's so loud that our kids have to sleep in another room where the music is a little less booming. Music's so loud that it overpowers anything that we are doing, and music's so loud that it would make the clubs jealous. While I don't mind people having fun or having a party, heck, I do sometimes too, that music is just too loud. I don't want there to be new regulations or laws put in place where neighbors every now and then, can't have a party or be a little bit louder than normal. I just want some neighborly respect given. I have spoken to our neighbors that play the loud music, and they are very hostile in their response with cursing and yelling. I simply ask to turn it down. Something that is not going to make my kids have to sleep in another room or be heard 2 blocks away, or several other neighbors calling the authorities to complain. One of my favorite things about my location is the love that we have for each other. I don't think it's too late for these neighbors. My wish is that they realize our frustration and take action for the betterment of all of us. Hopefully soon we can forget the past and look forward to being neighbors again. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Curtis. Next speaker is Mr. Jack Ritter. Welcome, Mr. Ritter.
Jack Ritter, 227 Willowick. I live probably about 250 yards from this residence. For years, I thought that the music was coming from Busch Gardens. I sit on my patio, and I'm saying, well, we can't do anything about that. They're going to be loud. We don't have any jurisdiction. Gentleman sitting back here, Ed Wonka, talked to me about it, and I said, isn't that interesting? If you stop and think about the schedule of Busch Gardens, this starts about 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. And by 9 o'clock, they have the fireworks and they're gone. This stuff still goes on. I am 250 or more yards away from this, and I hear it. I want it stopped. Solution, a dB meter and a distance. This 10 o'clock stuff, throw it out. This should be any time, not just 10 o'clock at night. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ritter. The next speaker is Dennis Hill. Welcome, Mr. Hill.
I'm here for the same noise ordinance. I live at 204, which is next block over, and probably a little farther away than he is. And my wife's been going through surgeries over the last couple of years. Same thing, back bedroom. And these houses are built in '54. They can take some sound, but they can't take that. This needs to change. It needs to stop. My wife shouldn't be inconvenienced, and neither should I. I should be able to sit on my porch at night and enjoy myself, have my evening cigar without having to listen to that business. So, yeah, if you guys can see your way through to do something about that, that'd be great. We would greatly appreciate the neighborhood. I don't have anything against this woman. I don't really know her. But I just want it to stop. It needs to be done with. And it shouldn't take up Temple Terrace Police Department's time either. It's just ridiculous. They've been out there a ton. Can't get anything done. It's just not going to give in. So we would appreciate whatever help you can give us.
Thank you, Mr. Hill.
All right, thank you.
The next speaker is Jane Duncan. Welcome, Ms. Duncan.
Thank you. And thank you for allowing me a chance to speak. I live immediately next door to the people that are playing their music so loud, and I have a concrete block home, like many on Linda Avenue, and the sound is just unbelievable. I set up audio and video for the USF Library for 20 years, and it's a level of sound that I would set up for a small auditorium. I know that sounds absurd, but it really is incredible. I can't watch my television. I can't read my books, and I'm a librarian, so that's a sad thing. My cat hides under the bed. It's just extraordinary. And I think the most difficult thing, I think you can tell I'm having trouble breathing right now. I have COPD and I have an arrhythmia, and it stresses me out to the point where I just get so angry. You know, being exposed to that level of noise for a long period of time is very unsettling, and it makes you irritable. And my heart rate and my blood pressure raises, and it's just as bad as it is to speak in public in front of the city council. But I do hope there's something that can be done. They start sometimes at 11:30 in the morning, and they don't stop until 1 or 2 a.m. And having the noise ordinance stop at 10, it's not doing it. It's very difficult to explain how it's affected the quality of my life. And I love Linda Avenue. It's taken me my entire life to afford a home. I bought it at age 57 4 years ago. When I had neighbors move in, I was excited and happy to have someone immediately next door, but not anymore. So thank you for giving me the time to speak. I'm really shy about speaking in public, but I wanted to be here for my neighbors on Linda Avenue. So.
Thank you, Mrs. Duncan, and you did fine. You did good. So that is the last request to speak I have under this section, unless there are further members of the public who wish to speak. So if you'll indulge me for 5 seconds, I do want to break protocol just a little bit. We normally don't comment, but I know that a lot of these folks want to go home and don't want to wait till new business. Just for your information, we can't take a lot of time to discuss this because we have a full agenda, but we already have some efforts underway through our city attorney, city manager, and the police chief. We have been made aware of this problem at least a couple of weeks ago. It came to our attention, and we are working on it. So I don't want you to think this is the first time we've heard of this and that we're doing nothing. So more to come on this for you. And Okay. Very good. Next item on the agenda is a lien reduction petition for the property located at 7501 Okeechobee Court. Code Enforcement Board Chair David Pogorlich will explain. Hello.
Good evening,
Welcome,
Council.
Mr. Pogorlich.
Mayor, David Pogorlich, Chair of the Code Board. Tonight, I have a lien recommendation for you for case number 17-2786 for property located at 7501 Okeechobee Court. This case originated in December of 2017. It came before the Code Board originally in February of 2018 for compliance by the following month in March of 2018. Compliance was finally obtained in January of 2021. The request for a lien reduction was made in July of 2021, and after much discussion, most of it centered around the respondents' financial difficulties. There was some utility issues as well, which obviously we're not allowed to deal with, but they did come up. The decision, unanimous decision, was made by the board to reduce their fine, which had accumulated to $40,800, down to $1,140. And again, the impetus to that was basically centered around the respondents' financial difficulties, including, I believe, a bankruptcy. And so that is the recommendation, to reduce it from $40,800 down to $1,140, payable within 30 days, or it reverses back to the original amount. And I'll now stand for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Pogorlich. And I believe the property owner, the petitioner, is here. Yes, would you like to speak, sir, Mr. Bubba?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Pogorlich, you can sit close if you, I don't know if we have questions for you at the end. I believe did you turn in one of these forms, sir? I think you did.
I did, but I was referring to this opportunity.
Okay, but the form that you turned in is to speak on this item, not on another one. Okay, let me make sure I pull that, if I
You'll
can.
have to speak twice.
No,
There we go.
please,
So okay, and because he's the petitioner, city clerk, the 3 minutes don't apply, so. Okay, sir, floor is yours.
Honorable Mayor, I appreciate the opportunity to speak. Ladies and gentlemen, so much. First of all, I want to say how much I appreciate the city of Temple Terrace, number one. The city manager has been extraordinary. The city clerk's office has been extremely helpful. And the code enforcement office has been very, 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 very helpful and patient, and I appreciate it. I've lived in Temple Terrace for nearly 30 years. I've taught in this community. My wife has taught in this community. My children currently teach in this community. All of our shopping and business involvement is in this community. So Temple Terrace is a place where a third of my life, almost half of it, has been lived. So I appreciate the opportunity for that reduction. Gives my wife and I an opportunity to have some flexibility and options with that property. She's currently disabled. We're both over 70 years old. I'm the only one providing the income, so it makes it a little difficult when you have to pay a $3,000 water bill because of the pandemic. We did that, and I appreciate that Code Enforcement Board having some understanding and compassion in this situation, because we know that there have been others who have been given an opportunity to be reduced, and they may not even live in this community. So I just, want to express my appreciation for this opportunity. Anyone have questions of me?
Thank you, Mr. Bubba. Well, we'll take public comment first, but don't go far if we have questions. We might have questions for you.
Very good.
Oh, well, hang on a second. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Okay, now, council member, questions for Mr. Pogorlich or the petitioner? Councilmember Schisler.
For everybody at home and the record, what was the city costs?
The same as the recommended.
Okay,
reduction.
I didn't hear him say that, and I just want to
Yeah,
make sure.
I don't think he did, but it's in the.
Okay,
yeah.
well, people at home will hear.
The city costs were
1140?
very close. The 1140 is a little bit more than city cost, not much, like $20 or something.
Okay, okay.
But
All right,
that's,
thank you.
it's city cost.
That was my only concern. I'll make sure everybody knew that.
Okay.
Okay.
Council members, other questions? Okay. Seeing none, I hear a motion. Yes, Mr. Willie. Okay, you may please approach.
I think the requirement was that it be paid in 30 days.
Yes, sir.
Or we'll go back. I want to request of the council if we can make that payment in 60 days rather than 30, and then it go back if we haven't paid the $1,100.
Okay. Council members, any other questions? If not, is there a motion?
I move to approve the lien reduction petition and allow the 60 days.
I'll second that.
I think it probably should be clarified in the motion that if it's not received within that 60-day period, it reverts back to the original amount.
I'll add that to the motion to include that if it's not paid within 60 days, it will revert to the original amount.
Do we have a second?
Second that.
We have a motion and a second. Is there discussion of the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No nays. Mr. Bobo, the recommendation of the code board has been accepted, and your request for 60 days has also been accepted. You do understand that if full payment's not received within that 60-day period, that the fine reverts back to the original amount? Absolutely. Okay.
Thank you.
Next item of business is a second public hearing and second reading of Ordinance 1515, adopting the 2021 Capital Improvements Section Schedule of Projects Update. I'll open the public hearing. Diego Guerrero, Community Planner from Hillsborough County Planning Commission, will explain.
Good
Welcome,
evening, ladies and gentlemen. Diego Guerra, Planning Commission staff. This item is the Planning Commission's review and adoption recommendation of the annual update to the Capital Improvements Section Schedule of Projects. This is a routine annual update that is required per Chapter 163 of Florida statutes. The review was conducted in accordance with Chapter 163, which requires the schedule be updated on an annual basis. The update would replace the existing schedule found in the comprehensive plan with the schedule found in your packets. This update is accomplished by ordinance per Chapter 163 and does not take the routine plan amendment process, which is why Chapter 163 allows for adoption by ordinance. Additionally, the plans of other agencies are adopted by reference into the schedule to an existing policy in the capital improvement section. City and Planning Commission staff work together to identify projects in the capital improvements program that affected the adopted levels of service, and it is these projects that make up the schedule of projects. City staff identified whether these projects eliminated a deficiency, maintained levels of service, or were planned for future growth. City staff also requested that the list of the 10-year transportation projects be incorporated as part of the schedule of projects. For those portions that were city projects within the first 5 years and specifically affected levels of service, those projects were included in the report analysis and this presentation. Depicted on the slide is a summary of the schedule of projects with by program area, and as you can see, there are 6 program areas which were identified and consist of a total of should be 86 projects, not 158, or I'm sorry, 158 projects for a approximate FY22 through FY25 funding amount of approximately $38.60 million. My apologies. In terms of level of service, the majority of the project funding, which is approximately 85%, are for the repair, replacement, and renovation to maintain levels of service. The remainder of the funding is intended to eliminate deficiencies for future growth. Planning Commission staff examined the schedule with respect to the goals, objectives, and policies found in the comprehensive plan. A few of the policies are identified on the slide, however, a full list is available in your packets. First, the schedule is consistent with the direction for the level of service priorities, which states that they should first be spent on the repair or replacement of facilities, second, to eliminate deficiencies, and third, for plan for future growth. Secondly, this schedule is consistent with the funding criteria identified in the comprehensive plan, both in terms of revenue fund and timing. Additionally, the schedule projects further several of the infrastructure sub-elements, including providing quality infrastructure and services to residents and enhancing transportation options. At its 14th September regular meeting, the Planning Commission found the proposed schedule of projects consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the Imagine 2040 Temple Terrace Comprehensive Plan and recommends City Council adopt the FY22 through FY25 schedule of projects by ordinance. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Guerra. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Seeing none, council member questions? No questions? Okay, if there are no questions, I'll close the public hearing and ask the clerk to read the title of the ordinance.
An ordinance of the City of Temple Terrace, Florida, providing for the annual modification and update to the capital improvement section of the 2040 Comprehensive Plan for the City of Temple Terrace pursuant to Chapter 163 Florida statutes by modifying and updating the 5-year capital improvement schedule of projects for fiscal year 2021 through 2022 through fiscal year 2025 through 2026 and incorporating the 10-year long-term improvements for the multimodal transportation district for 2022 through 2031 into the schedule of projects which incorporates by reference for the Comprehensive Plan Cap Policy 1.5.13, Hillsborough County Metropolitan Planning Organization's Transportation Improvement Program, Hillsborough Area Regional Transit Development Plan, and Hillsborough County Public Schools Facilities Work Program, providing severability and effective date and repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith.
Good, thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there a motion?
Move to approve ordinance 1515, adopting the 2021 capital improvement section schedule of projects update on second reading.
Second.
Councilmember Chambers, second. Is there discussion on the motion? Any discussion? If not, those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The nay sign. No nays. Ordinance 1515 is adopted on second reading.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Guerra. Next item of business is a second public hearing and second reading of Ordinance 1516, amending Chapter 1 of the Code relating to red light camera, special magistrate, and the lien reduction process. I'll open the public hearing. City Attorney Pam Shoshone will explain.
Thank you. This particular ordinance had some obsolete provisions in it that referred to special magistrates used for red light camera hearings. The city does not use the red light cameras anymore, so we had no need for these provisions with the special magistrates. The proposed ordinance removes those provisions. It also makes a change to the lien reduction process that you had just heard part of 2 items ago. And it moves that process to the city's legal department. The city legal department would then deal with applications for lien reduction. Applications would be made in the same manner that they now do by going through the clerk, using the same forms and format, and then it would come to the legal department. This new process would afford us the opportunity to negotiate a lien reduction without the requirement that exists now that the property be in compliance, I believe, for 35 days. Because oftentimes the current owner has no interest in getting the property into compliance, but is instead wanting to sell the property. Oftentimes our current lien reduction process, it's not the most expeditious or efficient process. It can take up to 2 months, and oftentimes it's a stumbling block to closings, to real estate closings that oftentimes are set without a great deal of thought to this, and then at the last minute it's discovered that there's this lien, and now it throws off their whole closing process. What we'll also be able to do is negotiate a compliance agreement. That does not exist now. When you have somebody who is a new owner wanting to come in, they would have to be part of the process and sign an agreement that the city manager would execute, stating we would be letting them know what needs to be done to get into compliance, how long they have in which to do that, and if they don't meet their obligations under the compliance agreement, then the lien would go back to what it was. But we're also looking at things that have not been considered that much in the prior process. There were certain legalities that were not really thought out well. Whether a property is homestead or not homestead makes a big difference here. And so we just we're wanting this to just be just a more streamlined process and give us more options too to get the properties into compliance, which is really the city's goal, is improving the quality of the neighborhood. At the first reading of this ordinance, City Council had directed us to make a change, and that amendment has been included in the proposed ordinance that is before you tonight. The change now states that the legal department will provide a lien settlement report to City Council during the city attorney's report portion of the City Council meeting when a lien has been reduced or a compliance agreement executed. And when we had first reading, we were going to provide a quarterly report. Now, whenever one comes up, you will hear about it at the meeting following the occurrence. So we're recommending approval.
Thank you, Mr. Schoen. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this? Seeing none, council member questions?
No, I think they made all the changes we asked for.
They did. If there are no questions, I'll close the public hearing and ask the clerk to read the title of the ordinance.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Temple Terrace, Florida, amending Chapter 1, Article 2, Division 2 of the Temple Terrace Code of Ordinances entitled Code Enforcement Board to remove references to a red light camera special magistrate, delegate the lien reduction and settlement process to the city's legal department, and make other minor changes, providing for the repeal of ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there a motion to adopt ordinance 1516?
I move to approve the second reading of ordinance 1516, amending Chapter 1 of the code relating to red light camera special magistrate and the lien reduction process.
Very good. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Councilmember Schuster, discussion.
Yes, I'm going to support the ordinance, the change. And I'm going to dissect it a little bit. The red light magistrate issue and the verbiage changes, I'm fine with those. I'm not so sure that the changes to the lien reduction process are going to be effective or work, but I don't have an alternative. So I don't want to stand in the way of seeing if this is a much more efficient way or if it's better. And having the greater visibility of the periodic report being every time you do one, essentially. If we find that we're having an issue, we can be more responsive and come up with a different alternative. It's not perfect. I don't think it's perfect, but I don't have a better option at this point. So I will support the motion. But I just wanted to make that comment that maybe something we need to come back to at a later time. And if not us, another council may have to do it. So I'm just my personal opinion. I'll stop there.
Other discussion? Not. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The nay sign. Ordinance 1516 is adopted on second reading. Next item is a resolution approving SPR 2104, site plan review application for medical clinic / residential healthcare development located on Folio 038204-0000 and portions of Folios 038181-0000 and 038205-0000. Senior Planner Gus Carpus will explain.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. Yeah, we're keep reducing those numbers. It's great. Okay, so what you have before you tonight is a resolution for the approval of a site plan for the Veterans Administration Medical Clinic, which would include also a residential health care facility. Currently, the property is not addressed. You see it's a vacant piece of property located south of Temple Terrace Highway and west of Davis Road. We rezoned it to a planned development when we brought it in, annexed it in. It has a community mixed use future land use, and it is currently this piece is 9.46 acres. It was part of a larger piece that we brought in. That larger piece to the south is, I believe, almost 20 acres that is not part of this request. Here we have an aerial shot of the property. You've got adjacent uses to the north, a church, mini warehousing. South is that vacant portion that will be developed sometime in the future. East, you have single-family residential and a multi-tenant commercial. I believe that's Winn-Dixie and some other mixed use. And then to the west, you have vacant residential and vacant planned development property. And then here's a site plan. And what they are proposing is a 100 and approximately 19,000 square foot two-story medical clinic with an attached 30,600 square foot single-story residential healthcare facility. The healthcare facility would have 60 inpatient beds distributed on 2 wings. A private recreational area would be developed to serve those patients. The site would include 800 parking spaces, which exceeds our requirement, but I believe is a requirement of the developer of the federal government, which would include 608 regular, 108 compact, and 84 handicap spaces. The stormwater will be managed by a drainage pond on the west portion of the property. So there is going to be some road improvements along Temple Terrace Highway. Again, this is a county road, and so this is going to be controlled by the county. But to show you what's happening, they're going to do a right turn lane, a new one along the road there, turning into the site. There's going to be a new signalized intersection, including left and right egress. Right there you see number 2. And then number 3 is going to be an expansion of the left turn lane going westbound into the site. And again, all these improvements must be approved by Hillsborough County. So now I have some views here submitted by the applicant. So this is an overall site view, a conceptual site view. And then some of these other views here, it's kind of hard to read with the red writing on there. And I'm getting a little old here, I have to take off the glasses. But so you have some elevations view of the north elevation, the west elevation, the north and south elevations, and the east and west elevations. Now staff reviewed this application. The city engineer worked worked a long time with the applicant to get this to the council. So after reviewing it, staff recommends that the council adopt the resolution approving the site plan application for the vacant property located south of Temple Terrace Highway and west of Davis Road, folio number 038-204-0000, and the portions of folio 308-181-0000 and 038-205-000 to permit the development of the medical clinic and residential healthcare facility, including the approved access from the county, drainage and parking improvements as necessary to support the project as depicted on the site plan submitted to the city and included as Exhibit A on the resolution. And also subject to the payment of mobility fees totaling $1,283,355 and tree mitigation fees in the amount of $307,500. These were fees that were developed by the engineering department and by our arborist. So that is my presentation. If anybody, well, you took me down. If anybody has any questions, I am available. Also, the applicants are here in force if you have any questions.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Corpus. Does the applicant wish to make any comments? Welcome.
Good evening. Cammie Corbett with the law firm of Hill Ward Henderson. We don't have a separate presentation, but we do have our experts here. And Councilman Schlichter, you look like you might have had some questions on transportation, and our transportation expert is here if you have any questions for him.
Good.
Well, we're not quite there yet, but thank you. So I do have a few members of the public, Mr. Carpus. If you want to have a seat, we'll have any questions for you, we'll call you back up. First speaker is Mr. Travis Horn. Mr. Horn, if you'd please state your name and city of residence for the record before to.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. Yes, Travis Horn, city of residence, actually Riverview. I saw this item on your agenda tonight. I'm also a veteran. I own a small business, a small veteran-owned business with offices just south of here. I conduct a lot of business in the fair city here in Temple Terrace, and have several clients up this way. I just wanted to come out tonight and thank you all for hopefully supporting this project. It's certainly one of much need. I have my VA healthcare card. I actually do still go to get my healthcare over James A. Haley, and I believe that this project will help alleviate some of the wait times that we've seen over there over the years. I know it's made progress, but certainly more progress to do at James A. Haley, and I would just appreciate you all supporting it. I know that I have a couple notes. I know that these are construction jobs, short-term jobs, but these are going to be replaced by long-term professional career jobs that will really help your community. I saw some significant figures on the screen there that I think will really benefit the citizens, even non-veterans here in Temple Terrace. So just want to thank you. I'm also joined by several distinguished veteran friends of mine, Mr. Dwayne Kimball, Stacy Holland, and also Dr. Carlos Garcia. All of these veterans help veterans themselves in one capacity or another. Stacy helps veterans with home loans. Dwayne helps veterans navigate and educate them to get through the VA claims process. Dr. Carlos Garcia, obviously, he counsels veterans, and this directly impacts his career. So we wanted to come out here and just express our thanks and gratitude and hope that you'll support this project.
Thank you, Mr. Horn. Next speaker is Dr. Carlos Garcia.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. I just want to say one quick thing in support of.
Just need your name and city of residence, please, for the record.
Yes, city of residence is Tampa, Florida. Carlos Garcia, Dr. Carlos Garcia. Just appreciate a couple minutes to come up here and speak. I am a veteran of the United States Marine Corps. I'm also a licensed clinical psychologist, and in my practice, I see a lot of veterans that come through there. Why? Because they want to see somebody that has sort of been there, done that alongside them. And over the last several years, I've seen so many veterans that are coming through to my office, paying for services out of pocket, essentially because some of the resources are just not available to them with the VA resources we have here in town now. So having a facility like this would be a great advantage to make sure that we're touching our nation's heroes with mental health services, behavioral health services, and all of support they need. So I just hope that speaking about my experience can lend a little bit of credence to how badly our veterans out there need these sorts of facilities. So, thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Next speaker is Eddie Birch. Welcome, Mr. Birch.
And Eddie Birch, live in unincorporated Hillsborough County. I'm also here on behalf of the Tampa Innovation Partnership in support of the resolution. That we're really excited about this facility. It'll allow the VA to do more of the great work that they already do on behalf of our veterans, and in a location that's accessible. And like some of the other speakers have already mentioned, dozens of professional jobs, and also actually taxpayer savings, I think, are projected through this as well. But most importantly, just allowing the VA hospital to provide these services to our veterans that are much needed and much deserved. So I'll yield the rest of my time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Birch. Next speaker is Dwayne Kimball. Is that, am I reading this correctly? I don't want to get your name wrong. Okay, Mr. Kimball, welcome, sir.
In relation to Richard Kimball. Good afternoon, good evening. My name is Dwayne Kimball. I'm a resident of Apollo Beach. I'm owner of KMD 89 VA Claims Consulting. Also, I'm a retiree from the Department of Veterans Affairs. I just wanted to thank the council for even taking up this matter. Hillsborough County has the largest veteran population in the state of Florida. And as a veteran myself, I think this facility will help alleviate the backlog of wait times and the distance that veterans have to travel to obtain the deserved medical benefits that they deserve from sustaining injuries from serving our country. So again, thank you to the council for allowing me to speak this evening. And again, wonderful opportunity for this community and the surrounding communities to service our veterans. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Kimball. Okay. Council members, are there questions for the applicant or Mr. Carpus? Councilmember Schisler.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I'm in favor of the project. Okay, so I just have some questions that other people had asked me about, and I figured now's the opportunity to do it. And for all the veterans in there, thank you for your services, and we look forward to this being a very successful project. My question resides of traffic issues. What is the anticipated traffic load on Temple Terrace Highway? Does anybody have any idea?
Good evening, Michael Yates with Palm Traffic. Yes, we did the traffic study. Are you looking for peak hour or daily?
Peak hour.
So overall for the project, it's about 400 cars, 450 for peak hour. So that would be loaded onto Temple Terrace Highway at the main entrance, which is going to be signalized. And that was the reason we were trying to get the signal there, is to allow the safe ingress and egress from the site.
So the signalization will go in. Will they be putting an emergency signal? I noticed that the emergency exit is off of Davis Road. Will they be changing the configuration of Davis and Temple Terrace Highway to allow for emergency vehicles to?
No, the emergency access is just as a secondary or a third access. If an accident occurs on Temple Terrace Highway, it's a way to get people in and out of the facility outside of Temple Terrace Highway. The problem we had on Davis Road, we originally had a plan that had that as a full access, but there's some right-of-way constraints and some design constraints that would not allow us to do the proper access to allow safe ingress and egress, and that's why it's an emergency access only. And it will be gated, it will be closed, and only used in cases of emergency.
Do they anticipate emergency vehicles coming in and out of there? I don't know whether they.
No, it's just intended to be, if there's an accident, there's no other means of ingress or egress, they have a way to get in and out of the facility
Okay.
during those times, and that's the only intended use for that.
Okay, and I have two other quick questions.
Sure.
What is the construction schedule? When, approximate? Will it be, will the different phases be staged, or will, for opening or completion?
Tammy Corbett for the applicant, October of 2023. And we're not phasing construction. There's some stormwater design and redesign that's going on now. So you will probably see another site plan that has a different, it's a phase 2, but it's really not phasing the construction at all. It will all occur at one time.
Okay, cool. My last question then, Mr. City Manager, what do we call the request for the DRC, the project? What do we call the internal memo where we ask where everybody likes it or not? The what? Development Review Committee? Yeah, the DRC. Did the DRC include, was that also sent to Hart?
We had anticipated sending it to Hart, yes.
Yes, it was.
Any response?
I did not receive.
Okay. Maybe we can reach out to Hart or whatever so that we can make sure, because we're changing the bus route to hit Amazon. Perhaps we need to modify it so that an additional mode of transportation in and out of the VA complex. I realize it's down the road, but maybe they can offer some. Okay, then so that we include everybody. Okay, thank you very much, and look forward to this working.
Mrs. Corbett, hold on. Other questions, council members? I have a question. What is the nature of the health care services that will be provided at this facility?
There'll be a wide variety, but they will be mental health services, but it's a wide variety of services that will be provided.
Okay, what does that mean? Because it's mental health care. So is this going to be for physical treatment as well, or is this a mental health behavioral science kind of facility?
I'd like to ask Mike Owens to come up and
Okay, thank you. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. It's a pleasure to speak to you. The clinic will offer a variety of services, but they'll be generally outpatient services with the domiciliary unit providing additional counseling for the patients. So it
Will
will
this,
not be a hospital per se so much as it will be a clinic.
will this facility be limited to psychological services, or will it also include physical services? Medical?
Generally, it's a mental health clinic that'll focus on mental health aspects for the vets that have served overseas and also in country.
Okay, so will the Veterans Affairs Police be assigned to provide law enforcement services at this facility, or will our police department have to provide those?
There'll be Veterans Police will be on site 7/24.
They'll be on site, okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you very much, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mr. Corpus, were you aware of this was a psychological facility from the start?
Yes, it was.
I would have, I mean, I'm supportive of this. I'm supportive of veterans, and I would have supported this. This whole council has been unanimously in support of this project the whole time. But why do I have to learn at Publix that this is a mental health treatment facility? Why don't I learn that here?
I don't know. I didn't know that you, I mean, I guess I just.
That's never been mentioned to us. And I never would have thought to ask I never would have thought to ask the question about Veterans Police. Don't misunderstand me. I'm still in support of this project, 100%. But I would have asked different questions much earlier on had I known what this was. It's a very worthwhile facility, but it is what it is, and we weren't told what it is. So that kind of frustrates me when I hear from a constituent at the grocery store that tells me what we're getting, and I'm trying to tell them, no, that's not what this is, and they say, oh, yes, it is. I really would like to have all the information when these things are presented. I still support it, but if I hadn't heard that from a constituent, we would have approved this tonight. And I don't know when we ever would have known it, until when it opened, maybe.
I had, not to argue, but not disagree, but I'd heard this in a previous commentary, because I had asked a question about the domiciliary. I can't even say it right.
I remember you asking that question,
Okay?
but I don't
And that was the
remember.
inference that I got, that it was going to be for potential psychological/psychiatric issues. I do remember hearing that in a previous presentation.
I don't, but, okay.
I apologize for that. I didn't include that specifically in the staff report. I didn't know that it was something that the council needed to have pointed out. It was on the news reports also. This is something that the city or the staff knew from the very beginning when they came in. And I guess it was that was a portion of it. I didn't know that it was entirely for that.
Okay. Council member, other questions?
I just have a comment. Will this, whoever else has a question, Gus is like, don't ask me this question.
No, I'm fine.
Will this relieve the VA hospital and free up more space at the VA hospital, or does this increase the mental health capabilities?
It increases, but it relieves the burden on 3 different facilities in the Tampa area. So they become consolidated in this facility.
There are 3 facilities?
There are the James A. Haley Center and 2 other VA clinics that are in the metro area. We'll have the ability to have consolidation occur at this project, so that it relieves some of the overcrowding at those facilities as well.
Okay, but it doesn't reduce it in that the others are continuing to offer their services.
It's a net growth
This
in the
is in
services.
addition to.
It's definitely, I'm a private developer, but I know from our interactions with VA on a weekly, monthly basis that it's much needed to relieve overcrowding at VA clinics throughout the Tampa area.
thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Council members, other questions? No? Okay.
I'm ready to make a motion.
Let me find my spot. Yes, okay. Is there a motion approving SPR 2104?
Move to approve SPR 21-04 on the site plan review application for the folios as mentioned.
Second.
I see
I'm
what
not
you
saying-
did.
I'm not saying it. No, too many numbers.
Discussion on the motion.
Yes, just,
Councilmember Abel.
the timing is right, you know, the Veterans Day is in 9 days, and here we are passing this, so, that's all.
Very good. Thank you. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No nays. Site plan is approved. Thank you, Mr. Carpus. Thank you, folks. Next item is the first public hearing, first reading of an ordinance approving the zoning reclassification of folio 201-634-0050, also known as RZP 21-05. I'll open the public hearing. Ask anyone who intends to speak on this matter to stand for the oath administered by the city clerk.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
City Attorney, would you please poll the council for ex parte communications?
Yes, if anyone has received any verbal or written ex parte communication regarding this particular item, please state that on the record. Let us know with whom you had that communication, when that communication occurred, and the substance of the communication. If it was in writing, then please provide at your earliest opportunity, which is like really soon, provide that to the clerk so that it may be put in the record and provided to the applicant.
I've had none.
I've had none.
I've had none.
I have had none.
I've had none.
Thank you.
Senior Planner Gus Carpus is here to explain. Welcome back.
Once again, good evening. So what you have before you is a rezoning application 21-05 for unassigned address, folio number 201-634-0050. This is the first reading and public hearing. The owner of the property is Grove Financial Credit Union. The applicant is Hillsborough County Habitat for Humanity. So you're looking at the location is, I'm sorry, I was flipping too soon. Again, is the unaddressed property here that is located actually in the downtown community redevelopment area. So you see on the map on the left, I've circled where it is in our downtown redevelopment area. On the right is your general location map. The current zoning is commercial general. The proposed zoning is planned development. The parcel size is 0.63 acres. So here's an aerial of the subject property. It's across the street from the Tampa Mall, the former Kmart, Dunkin' Donuts, and just north of the Grove Financial, and adjacent to the city of Tampa there. So they're looking to go to planned development per section 12-286A of the Land Development Code. Any property in the CRA must be rezoned to planned development if it is rezoned. The applicant proposes to plat the property in the future to single-family parcels, and the subject property currently, as it shows, is next to residential and commercial uses. The next slide here is a conceptual site plan showing the 5 proposed single-family parcels. I've just got a note here, the placement of the footprints and dimensional setback information shown on the table on the site plan are hypothetical and not binding with the approval of the zoning reclassification application. If that's what the council chooses to do tonight, that information would be included on a site plan. A detailed site plan will be provided in the future. So again, they're looking to create a 5 parcel, single-family development on the site. I did ask them to submit some potential elevations that they would have, and they did submit to me 2 potential model homes that they would be using. The Jordan elevation, these are going to be similar to some other units that they have built. And, that's right, I got to point that way. These comply with our zoning requirements in terms of footprint area. And so on October 18th, the Planning Commission did receive and review the zoning reclassification application and recommended approval, finding that it complies with the long-range planning goals, the surrounding neighborhood, and is consistent with the comprehensive plan. And staff does recommend that the council approve the first reading of the ordinance adopting the reclassification application, proposing the rezoning of the property to planned development for the property unaddressed with folio number 201634-0050. And if approved, it would come for a second reading on the next meeting, which is November 16th. Applicant is here.
Thank you, Mr. Corpus. Would the applicant like to make a presentation? Welcome, sir. Good evening.
Ron Spoor with Habitat for Humanity. I'd just like to make a couple comments. We're under contract with Grow Financial to purchase the property. They've been very gracious to us and given us a long contract period. If we're not successful with the rezoning, then of course we would not pursue the property. My observation is that Grow has listed it for sale for some time in its commercial with the commercial zoning, and I think for a number of years, and it had not sold. I guess the last thing I'd just like to mention, we'll have the opportunity to drain stormwater into a pond that's currently owned by Grow. It's actually in the city of Tampa. It's just to the west of the property, just to the west of the city of Temple Terrace line. So stormwater from the 5 homes could drain into that pond. That's a nice advantage that when the property was originally developed by Grow, they actually built that pond so that it could also accept stormwater from the site. So, thank you for your consideration.
Thank you very much, sir. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Seeing none, council members, any questions of staff or the applicant? Yes, Councilmember Schisler.
Yeah, are we locked into the 5 units, subdivided to 5 units? I was curious as to the square footage of the lots.
Okay, what we're looking at tonight is just the rezoning.
No, I understand, but I'm just curious.
We are not locked into anything until they come to us with the site plan. We could ask that they amend the area of the lots.
Okay, I was just, we want to make sure that there's enough room and it's big enough, not
Correct, and that's why I made the note that that table means nothing.
Okay, good.
We're not approving that.
Thank you.
Council members, other questions? I do have a question. It's along the same lines as Mr. Schisler, and he kind of answered it, but I noticed that if you divide it into 5, those are 39 feet in width, and I'm just wondering how wide, I don't know what the required setback on the sides are, but you're going to have a 12-foot wide house.
I believe in the past, I think the last development, we had 40-foot wide lots, and that's what the planned development allows us to do, is kind of negotiate those setbacks and that type of stuff. I think we went with 5-foot setbacks. So, when we get to that site plan portion, that's when we start haggling with that. So, yeah, I think the smallest we've ever went was 40 foot in width. So if they're 39, we're going to have to talk type of stuff. But at this point, that's why we asked that they submit a concept, so we at least know, okay, we're rezoning it, this is what they're thinking, okay, we get an idea of what they're doing. We may not necessarily like it, but we like the thought of what they're doing.
All right, I realize we're kind of getting ahead of the game here, but I do want people to know what I'm looking at this going, we're going to have, 39 feet from here to the door. That's not very much, so, okay.
Can I follow up with something?
Sure, please.
Does 4 mess up your model? Does 4, I know you've done the financials on this, and I know you're going to contract here soon.
Keep in mind, though, we're getting ready to vote, and we're asking him stuff that's outside of
I realize that. But does 4 mess up kill your model?
Certainly make it more challenging.
Okay.
I'm hoping that you'll successfully rezone it, and we can come back to you with a presentation that you'll be favorable to.
Okay.
Would you like to make any other comment besides responding to the question? I'll give you the last word. Unless, council members, are there other questions? Would you like the last word? You can have it if you want.
I have nothing to add, just, again, I thank you for your consideration.
Okay, thank you very much. That being the case, I think, Mr. Carpus, I'm going to close the public hearing, and I'll ask the clerk to read the title of the ordinance.
An ordinance of the City of Temple Terrace, Florida, rezoning .63 plus minus acres of unaddressed real property north of East Bush Boulevard, west of Overlook Drive, and east of North 52nd Street, within the downtown redevelopment area from zoning classification commercial general to plan development, providing for amendment to the official zoning map of the city, providing severability and effective date, and repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there a motion?
I move to approve the ordinance approving the zoning reclassification of the aforementioned folio upon first reading.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion on the motion? I do have some, but don't get nervous. I'm going to vote in favor of it. But I do have some. And this is not directed at them, but this is, I think we as a council need to figure some stuff out. Because I think we're working at cross purposes with ourselves. Let me explain. We are trying to develop the downtown redevelopment area, and we're trying to attract certain calibers of businesses, upscale dining, craft beer, walkable kind of, boutique kind of interesting shops. It's what we all want. It occurs to me that these businesses, part of the reason that we're having trouble attracting these businesses, we've been hitting a brick wall with a lot of them, is because of what's called our 135 report. Our 135 report is potential businesses, developers, they want a 135 report is where you go out 1 mile in a circle, and you go out 3 miles in a circle, and then you go out 5 miles in a circle. And they look at the demographics in each of those circles. And obviously the 1 mile is the most important, and then the 3 mile and the 5 mile. Some businesses don't even look at the 5 mile, they just look at 1 and 3. And the things in this report, I have the latest one for our redevelopment area, I can share it with you. They look at the demographics. It's the median age of people, the median income of people, the median home values of people, unemployment rates of people, all the demographic data that's captured by the Census Bureau is compiled into basically 3 reports, the 1, 3, and the 5. We're not getting the businesses we're trying to attract because of the 135 demographics. And the reason I bring this up is not to shoot this down. This is not their fault or their problem, but this is something we need to think about. If we're going to attract the downtown businesses that we're trying to get in the future also, I'm talking 20 years out, 30 years out, we're going to have to change and elevate the demographics primarily to the west of 56th Street. And it dawns on me that we keep approving affordable housing, which is great. I'm all in favor of affordable housing. People deserve to have a place to live. I'm all in favor of it. But we're working at cross purposes. On one hand, we're going to one meeting trying to get upscale dining and craft beer, and on the other hand, we're approving stuff 300 yards away that is shooting down our chance of getting craft beer and upscale dining. And so I don't have the solution for this tonight, but this is something we need to sit down and strategically think about. And I'm not saying we're not going to build any more affordable housing. What I am saying is we have to look at what other cities, including Tampa, has done with Seminole Heights, which used to be a very rundown area, and now it's not. And years ago, Hyde Park was the same way. So some of this urban renewal, we need to find out how this is done. And it won't be done during our tenure, maybe yours. But if we don't have some strategic planning along these lines, I'm afraid that we're working against ourselves in some matters. And I hope I'm making sense. I'm not against you guys, and I'm going to vote for it. It's just, we need to figure this out because we should be trying to increase the values of the property in the west portion of our city. And what we're doing by our own action here is decreasing it. We're killing our 135 report. And so, we need to get, and I'm not, this is not my area of expertise, but I can add, I mean, we can all add. So this is a problem. We're dyslexic in this. So, yes, Vice Mayor.
I think sometimes affordable housing should be called workforce housing, because anyone buying a Habitat for Humanity home has to have a job. They have to have the ability to pay the mortgage. What they needed was a helping hand to get into that house. They have low rates, which thank goodness the Habitat has been able to negotiate with some different banks. But the price of the house is market-based. And of course, thank goodness there are volunteers who raise money and, again, help that happen. But we're not talking about people who are not going to bring something to our city. There are cities, I mean, all over Florida where people can't work there because they can't live there. And they've been priced out of a decent place to live. So I don't think it's so much a cross purpose as much as maybe it's need to have a better way of explaining what it is we're doing. And, you know, part of our CRA mandates that we include affordable housing. I mean, that's the reason you get the tax break that we do, is because we've been told, well, you're not just building a downtown, you're also making sure that you add housing to your housing stock. I mean, and it even says here, our objective is to provide safe, decent, sanitary, and affordable housing opportunities for the current and future citizens of Temple Terrace. I started out in a 600, all of whopping 650 square feet of a house. It was 3 bedrooms and a bathroom. I don't know how we crammed all that in there, to be honest with you. I think I was in a tiny house before tiny houses were on TV. I didn't stay there, but it gave me the opportunity to go into a bigger home. And I really think that's what we're doing here. And yes, you know, we'll talk about 39 feet, 40, whatever, make the house bigger, make whatever. But you just have to understand the real concept here is that they are putting people into homes who then will add to our city. They will shop in our stores. They will make the people at Winn-Dixie and Publix and the restaurants and all those places, they will give them customers. They have had to work very hard to get in there. And guess I'm focusing on the Habitat model because that's the one I know the best. But, you know, affordable housing, y'all just need a better PR campaign. Stop calling it that. You know, nobody wants to call it that. It's workforce housing. These people all have jobs. And so I'm glad that you're supportive of it, and I hear you. I hear you, I really do. But I don't think this is going to detract from, especially anybody wanting to open an affordable restaurant and I don't mean, all restaurants. Plus, who knows, maybe the folks who live here in this Grow Hope Village will all go to work for the VA. You know, we'll just see. So that's my comment. Thank you, though. Thank you for allowing me.
Are there any other comments on the motion? If not, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No nays. The ordinance will appear for a second reading and public hearing on Tuesday, November 16th. Thank you, Mr. Corpus. Next item on the agenda is first public hearing and first reading of an ordinance approving the zoning reclassification of 8701 Overlook Drive, RZP 21-04. I'll open the public hearing. Ask anyone who intends to speak on this matter to stand and be sworn in by the city clerk.
Tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you God.
Yes.
City Attorney, would you please poll the council for ex parte communication?
Yes, I apologize that I have to do this each time, but each record is different for each item. So, asking whether any of you have received any written or oral ex parte communication regarding this matter. If you have received anything in writing, please provide that to the clerk. If you have received either oral or verbal communication, please state with whom that has been, when that occurred, and the sum and substance of that communication.
I've had none.
I've had none.
I've had none.
I've had a phone call from one individual, Mr. Ron Govan, regarding this issue. I believe it was last Friday, I could be mistaken, and some substance was strictly that did I feel that the owner needed to be in town for this? And I said I did not really know whether that was worthwhile or not.
Thank you.
Hold on just a second. What item are we on?
F.
No.
No, we're on E.
E.
No, we just finished E, I thought. Yes.
We just finished D.
Wishful
on F.
thinking there, council member. Wishful thinking.
I had the same question a minute ago.
Yeah.
No, we're on E.
My apologies. Okay, then no, I had no expert in communication.
I've had none.
I apologize, I get a little bleary-eyed
Knows
here.
what you're talking about.
Okay,
And I've had none.
okay,
Very good. Okay, senior planner
okay.
Gus Corpus, you will explain. Welcome back, Gus.
Yes, good evening again.
Night's your night.
Yes, so what you have before you is a rezoning or a zoning reclassification application for 8701 Overlook Drive, folio number 038218000. This is the first reading and public hearing. The owner of the property is Race One LLC. The applicant is Development Support Resources LLC. Once again, this property is located in the CRA. The map on the left has the circle showing where it is located. It's currently zoned R10 Single Family Residential. It's looking to be zoned planned development. The property contains 0.24 acres. Like previous requests, the property is being rezoned, therefore it needs to be rezoned to planned development since it is in the CRA. What the applicant is looking to do on this site is place 8 units of attached housing on the site. The aerial shows that it's currently got a mix of single family and multifamily around it. Here's the conceptual site plan showing the placement of the 2-story, 8-unit structure being placed on the north side of the property, and it's going to be adjacent to Overlook Park, which is a city park. The site would be accessed from Grove Hill Road. Now, we've had many discussions before this request with other people, and we've always encouraged people to access this site from Grove Hill Road, and also with this applicant. So that's why people are, or why this shows access from Grove Hill Road. And again, like the other request, a detailed site plan will be submitted at a later date. This is again just the rezoning. The applicant has submitted elevations. You've got a front elevation and a rear elevation. Now, I have spoken to the applicant regarding the materials used. Again, this is in the downtown redevelopment. We do have design standards. So it's my belief that they took that discussion to heart. The applicant is here and they can indicate whether or not they have, that there may be some changes in these elevations. Again, the front and the rear. The overall height of this will be 35 feet. Now, looking at this rear elevation, we have to remember this will be discussed at the site plan processor, but this is what would be facing our park. And then this are the east-west elevations. So the Planning Commission staff did review this on October 19th and did recommend approval. They found that it complied with the long-range planning goals, the surrounding neighborhood, and was consistent with the comprehensive plan. Reviewing the rezoning application, I did recommend approval of the first reading, an ordinance adopting the rezoning reclassification for the property at 8701. the .24 acres, from residential 10 to planned development. Again, I do believe there will need to be some work done on the elevations and the actual site plan itself when it comes time for the site plan review, but at this point, again, we're looking at the rezoning. That is what I have. If the council has questions, I'm here, and I believe the applicant is also here.
Thank you, Mr. Corpus. Let me find my place here. The applicant, would you like to make a presentation, sir?
Just wanted to follow up quickly. Good evening, council. Thank you for your time. We are in support of this. Oh, Charlie Thomas, sorry, with DSR. We are in support of this project. Just a little bit about us. We are the Seminole Heights developer that you're talking about. We've been in Seminole Heights for 15 years developing over there, and now we're moving to do a development here. I don't like to get off topic, but I will for once. We're doing a redevelopment project in Clearwater. It's an affordable housing project, and so be careful about the term affordable housing. So we're doing market rate housing, and as a part of the zoning, we have to give one market rate unit. So we're selling these $500,000 houses, and then we're going to give an affordable housing to a teacher there at $300,000, which is the going rate for a 10-year commitment. So we're able to do both things. We're still able to drive market rates, which is driving the 135 number, as well as give someone an affordable piece as a benefit of the development. That's just a side note. But I wanted to share that because that's part of what we do, right? We're developers. We're the bad developers. We're just only about making money, but we want to make it affordable and help other people who have the chance. So we got to have school teachers. They have to have a place to live. $40,000 doesn't allow them to buy our product. But if we offer those incentives, it does. And so that's kind of the product that we bring. Back to my project here, we're doing is 8 luxury apartment units on this parcel here. One of the drivers is really density, right? So if we can get the density, then we can bring the product to market. We think this is consistent with what you want to do in the district. We had concerns about the elevations. I'm sure we'll be able to meet the design standards that you guys are looking for in this district as we have in Seminole Heights. And we're just asking for your support for this project. Any questions?
Thank you very much. Well, before that, are there members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Mr. Pogorlich.
Thank you. David Pogorlich, City of Temple Terrace. I just want to caution all of you that, Sherry said something about the quality of the people, and you're right. We get some good quality people. I volunteered many hours for Habitat for Humanity, but comps are not based on the quality of people. Comps are based on the size of the lot and the type of the house and what we're building. It has nothing to do with the occupants. And building postage stamps and row homes doesn't help our 135. Just want to caution you about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pogorlich. Are there other members of the public who wish to comment on this item? None. Council member questions? Well, yeah, council member questions.
I do.
Vice Mayor Donahue.
Probably for you, sir. So 8 units where one house was before. This is not an exceptionally large lot, correct? This is, or is this more than one lot?
Quarter an acre.
Pardon? Okay, okay. I know you're looking for density, but that's a lot of people in that tiny space.
Okay, folks, we can't be doing this. You got to stay quiet in the audience.
Just as was asked of the one before you, could you do it for 6? I mean, the problem we have tonight is we rezone, and now we've given you hope that you can keep working on this project. And so I don't want to say no. I want there to be density in the town. I want there to be a wide variety of the size and style of homes and price of homes. How much wiggle room do you have on this lot? And is this what you're putting in Seminole Heights, these 8-unit pieces?
We're putting in Seminole Heights, we did a 13-unit development. We do mixed use where we do single families and duplex. Part of the challenge in Temple Terrace is that the townhome market here, as the gentleman alluded to, your comp numbers don't support or won't support those if we were doing townhome values because the comps are not going to comp out. But the luxury apartment space is booming and the numbers are well for Temple Terrace. To your numbers, all of this is negotiated. So this allows us to do what's allowable density, but when we go back to the site plan, it's site plan specific, and then we have to ask for waivers, but we're not asking for any waivers. We're actually going to meet the code as is written. So it's negotiated, so it may not be 8, it may be 6, but it's really, our approach is give us the rules and let's play by the rules. So the zoning, we believe it's consistent with the downtown district. And then when we come back and say, hey, we didn't ask for any rear yard setbacks or side yard setbacks. We met code as written to meet the development.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Council members, other questions? Councilmember Schisler?
Now, this may be a legal lesson from our city attorney. Isn't it true, if I remember correctly, there's some very limited options that we have or limited criteria that we can utilize to reject this type of a proposal? Is that true?
True, having to do with the rezoning itself, but it doesn't mean that in rezoning it, you're approving exactly what he's asking to do. That would come later on the site plan approval.
Okay, do you own the property now, or is this a contract?
We own the property.
You own the property now, okay.
Councilmember Chambers?
Yes, I think this is for Mr. Carpa, but could someone explain what current R10 zoning is?
Single family, they would not be able to do what they're proposing. That's why they're seeking the rezoning.
Okay, what is the 10 in the R10?
The R10 would be, 10 units per acre, I believe, correct? But the R10 is actually the larger lots. It's not 10 units per acre. That's actually the lot size. I was thinking future land use. Yeah, so you would have to have 100 width, and the setbacks are larger. But under the R10 residential, they cannot do what they're proposing to do. That's where they're looking to rezone, because they cannot have multifamily.
Okay, thank you.
Single family.
Council members, other questions? I have a question for the applicant, sir. What in the developer, what differentiates what's considered a luxury apartment from a regular apartment?
For our setbacks for luxury apartment are that we have ensuite bathrooms in our units. So each bedroom has its own bathroom, as well as, so we have 2 and 2.5 bathrooms. We have washer and dryer hookups and those other amenities. Then you could build an apartment at 600 square feet and put 2 bedrooms in it with 1 bath. So that differentiates between luxury.
Okay, so the number
And
of,
the finish.
each bedroom has a bathroom, that's,
Ensuite bathrooms, yes, sir.
and washer and dryer hookups.
Washer and dryer hookups in the units.
Okay, are there other differences too, or is that's kind of it?
In today's current market, that's the driver. If you see the trend in apartment housing, consistent with the apartments that they're building over there on 56th Street currently, that's due to the pandemic and people working at home and living at home, the new work-live style has changed. And so adding the additional 2 bathrooms in there, ensuite bathrooms, has really made the unit more attractive in today's market and to be competitive.
Okay, but there's no difference in like ceiling heights or
These units have
appliance quality?
10-foot ceilings. Our products are granite countertops, solid wood cabinets, but you can have what I would not call a luxury model that would still have solid wood countertops.
But not the bathrooms?
But not the bathrooms. It's the hardscape that someone's going to pay the additional for when you're looking in the market, particularly the Temple Terrace market. So we have a competitor next door. We have the new apartments going in down the street. And then if you go to the west of us, there's those apartments over there, the ground level units. And so they have lots of choices to pick from. And so what's the competitive advantage? Why would they pick to live in our unit compared to someone else's unit? Because we're meeting their needs and offering them their product that they can come home and live and feel like, hey, this is where I want to live and spend my hard-earned money.
Okay, so I guess I'm a little confused about, because I see in the document here, I don't know if it's on your actual application or if this is just an internal document, but I see reference to affordable housing. I don't think this was a document written by you. I think
No,
this
we
was
don't.
written by us. But I see reference to affordable housing, but then I hear reference to luxury apartments, and you don't usually associate those two
Yes, sir,
things.
we don't have affordable housing in this project. We
Okay,
didn't,
this is,
there would be nothing that we submitted.
okay.
There's something.
Maybe it may be just that they're talking about policies that consider, okay, I see. Okay, my confusion, sorry. All right, council members, other questions? Okay. There are no other questions. I'll close the public hearing and ask the clerk to read the title of the ordinance.
An ordinance of the City of Temple Terrace, Florida, rezoning .24 plus minus acres of real property located at the northeast corner of the intersection of Overlook Drive and Grove Hill Road with an addressable location of 8701 Overlook Drive within the downtown redevelopment area from zoning classification single-family residential to plan development, providing for amendment to the official zoning map of the city, providing severability and effective date, and repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith.
Good, thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there a motion?
I move to approve the first reading of this ordinance.
I'll second that.
Discussion on the motion? I have a little bit. I just can't, in good conscience, I can't support this, but it's not that I'm not trying to be difficult. I have grave concerns about what we're doing here, and it's not personal. The adjacent properties here, one is a park, the other is a house. There's another vacant lot next door that's got the same R10 zoning, and then there's an existing apartment complex to the east that's existing. I just don't think, and I know I'm not against apartment dwellers, and I am all in favor of people having decent homes to live in. I am not heartless, trust me. But I also have one eye on this downtown redevelopment that we've been trying to build for 25 years. And I don't know that this project's gonna have a huge impact one way or the other, but if it does, it's not gonna be a good impact. It's gonna be the other way. And I know this isn't affordable housing, but we have a number of Habitat for Humanity projects within a stone's throw. And I feel like we're doing what we were doing a few years ago with the annexation, is we didn't have a plan. We were just annexing kinda, oh, that's great, we'll annex this or that, anybody that came forward, we would annex. And I don't know that it wouldn't be maybe the best thing, but I don't think we're there yet. We don't know what we're doing. We're flying blind here, I think. And I just can't approve this. I know we're not doing the site plan yet, but I just can't see that this is a benefit to the city. I think this is contrary to what we're trying to do. And so I just can't bring myself to vote in favor of it, and I'm sorry, I like unanimous votes, but I just can't do it, I'm sorry. Councilmember Schister?
Yes.
No, please.
This isn't, we got a lot of apartments at Temple Terrace. We're building more. We had the redevelopment area, and we also had this is a similar project came up down here off of 52nd Street, I believe it was, just south of Fowler. And I voted against that one. It ultimately passed, but I voted against it, much for the same reasons what you're talking there. It just doesn't seem to fit. We have single residential all around it, and I think it's a bit of an overreach. And I'm just concerned that if we end up with apartments that aren't rented, then the owner has to do something with them, and we could open ourselves up to future issues. I also will not be supporting the rezoning.
Other discussion on the motion, Councilmember Abel?
I heard what you said about the 135, and I hear your point about feeling like this will negatively impact our community, our redevelopment area. But I'm still not quite sure I understand how that is. It's going to bring more people to the area. It's going to increase density. And, I mean, he says these are luxury apartments, so I understand the issues with that, but can you help me understand a little bit more about how you think this is going to negatively impact the redevelopment area?
Yeah, I can try. The 135 report, and again, I feel like I'm putting myself in the role here of being heartless, and I'm really not. But the 135 looks at the number of households, the medium age, the average household earnings, the family average earnings, age, I said age already, male, female, employment. It looks at the sectors that people are employed in. It looks at education levels. It looks marital status. It looks, I mentioned the sectors. It looks at where they work. Do they work in business, science, art, service, occupations? It works at all these different factors. And I am not against people who live in apartments. I am not. But as a city leaders, though, we have to be cognizant of where these things are placed. And I'm certainly not trying to make Temple Terrace a city where, you know, we just turn away people that don't own their own home, or, you know, I don't think that. But I do think that this report, in fact, I know, I don't think, I know this is the report that the developers and potential businesses that are looking at our downtown, this is what they're looking at. I know it because this is what we sent them. That's where I got it. And so they look at this, and these apartments, let's say they go in, they're not going to increase the average medium household income for that 1 mile ring. They may or may not decrease it, I don't know, but they're not going to increase it. We're not going to get those demographics by building this. That's not who's going to live in that. Is there a place for this? Yeah. Yeah. But in that 1 mile ring around downtown, we're hurting ourselves. And tomorrow I'll be out again trying to lure restaurateurs and craft beer places like we all do. I'm not the only one, I know that. But we're going to go out tomorrow and hit the bricks again trying to get, you know, Charlie's Steakhouse. Well, we're not going to get it until we figure out how to elevate this. And there's no snap of the finger. There's no magic bullet. This is going to take years. It's going to take a long time and a strategy. And it's probably going to take some innovative thinking about tax credits or grants, or, you know, what can we get from what other communities do to revitalize an area and slowly over time build that up. This project, these are good people. I hate to shoot down people that come and try to do business here. These are good people. But this project is not going to drive our 135 report in the right direction. So that time's, and that's my concern, council member. It's not, these aren't bad people. I don't have anything against people that live in apartments. They're a big part of our city. But we've got one foot on both sides of the fence here. We're all committed to the downtown, and then we're doing things that are hurting that. And so that's my fear.
Thank you, that helps a lot. I'm sorry, I wasn't quite done, if it's all
No, you've got the floor, and then Councilmember Chambers.
So that report that you have there, is that something that's been made available to all of us that I might have overlooked?
I got this from Greg Polly. He didn't send it to me. I mean, I've asked him for it. I've asked him for this before because I share it with people when I go try to entice them to.
I think that's something that I think we should all have a copy of if we can access that.
We can make that happen.
And I think, I guess my next question is, could we have some sort of workshop where we sit down and make some sort of plan about what sort of strategies we could have to enhance the areas west of 56th Street that I think is mostly what you're talking about, so that we could start to think strategically about this long term and reach the goal that you're talking about.
Yes, I mean, in my opinion, the answer to that question is yes, that's what we should do. And I'm not sure that we have the expertise up here without getting some help to know what to, but yeah, I mean, that would be my suggestion too.
Because when we have somebody here who comes with a plan and they are willing to do something with the city and they have an idea that, I mean, could help us, I think that it would be better if we had, an idea in our minds and did the work beforehand, so we know what we want for these areas. That's all. Thank you.
No, I agree, and it's a terrible time to start figuring this out when somebody comes to us. I get that too. Councilmember Chambers.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm not going to talk about the 135 report or anything, but what I want to talk about is our rezoning. So by our rules, anything rezoned has to be rezoned to PD in the redevelopment area. That is correct? Correct. Yeah, okay, thank you. So if we don't do any zoning change, R10 stays, and I don't think that there's going to be any takers to build a house of that magnitude at that corner. I also don't think that that corner can support 8 apartment units in a residential neighborhood at a 2.5 3-story apartment. So I really can't support this, but I would like to see something at that lot and eventually I think we'll get to that zoning of PD, but I can't support this.
Okay. Council members, other?
Well, I just have if you pay attention to what is happening in Seminole Heights and in Midtown, they are cramming people in there. And they're all sizes of housing units, houses, apartments, condos, I mean, all, like the townhouses that he's talking about. So this may not be the right project for that lot, but I hope that you will consider looking at other properties in Temple Terrace. I agree with you, Mr. Chambers. That lot is nobody's going to build a house on that lot. I mean, if anything, maybe we should think about buying it and making that park bigger so that it's a bigger park that maybe has more equipment, playground equipment or whatever on it. I guess you'll sell it to us, right? I just need, we keep talking about the value of it, but we all know the businesses came into the corner piece as soon as we said, yes, the apartments are a go, because they knew there were going to be people in those apartments, and those people drink coffee and buy phones and need banks and whatever. So I understand why you don't support it, and I'm not making you out to be the bad guy. Absolutely, not at all. I do think, though, that Ms. Abel is right. We need to talk about what are our perceptions of these housing that are coming to us, and what is the real answer. I mean, if more people is what businesses are looking for, I'm guessing they want us to cram as many in here as we can, because while we think of ourselves as being plenty big enough, apparently they don't. So I think there's more to it than that one, I'm sure there's other things that they use. So that's all, that's my comment. I guess you're ready for the vote.
Other? Okay. We have a motion to approve and a second. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Nay.
No.
Councilmember Chambers,
Always against the
Councilmember
rules.
Schistler, and the mayor voted no. The ordinance is disapproved. Next item on the agenda is the first public hearing and first reading of ordinance. Thank you, sir. I hope to see you again. First public hearing and first reading of ordinance 1518, approving the zoning reclassification of 234 Bullard Parkway, RZP 2101. I'll open the public hearing. Ask anyone who intends to speak on this matter to stand and be sworn in by the city clerk.
I do.
Good. City Attorney, would you poll the council for ex parte communications? We're now on F.
Yes.
Come on, it's a senior moment.
That was his dry run there.
There you go. I'm going to make sure I could get it right.
I need to ask whether any of the council members have had any ex parte communications, either written or oral, concerning this matter. If you've had any written communications, then please disclose what those are and provide a copy of those to the clerk. For either written or oral ex parte communication, please state with whom you have had that communication, when that occurred, and the sum and substance of that communication.
I received an email this afternoon from Carol Dell pertaining to this issue.
Okay.
I received the same email from Ms. Dell, but I also reached out to Mr. Anisi and said, what's going on in that? I saw the sign and I didn't know, so I figured I'd just ask him. And he said it was a bank. That was about the whole extent of our conversation. So
I've received the email mentioned already, forwarded the email to the city clerk, asked her to include it in the record. And last week, I don't remember the day, I got a phone call from Ron Govan asking if I had seen this, and at the time, the agenda had not been posted, and I told him I had not.
Ibit. I received the email from Ms. Dell as well as the phone call from Mr. Govan, and same response. Again, it was last week, I don't remember what day it was, and I had not seen the agenda item, so I had responded accordingly.
Okay, and I received the same email from Mrs. Dell and the same phone call from Mr. Govan. It was Thursday morning, and he asked if I had any questions, and I had not seen the agenda item, so there was nothing more.
Okay, thank you.
Well, and I also got the call from Mr. Govan. I just forgot because I didn't know what he was talking about at the time.
Now it comes
now
out.
I'm feeling really let out.
Dell?
Left out.
We'll make sure you're included from now on. So, City Planner Celeste Lau will explain. Welcome, Ms. Lau.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. The item I am presenting tonight is RZP 21-02, which is a zoning reclassification for a property located at 234 Bullard Parkway. The subject property is located at the northwest corner of the Bullard Parkway and Ridgedale Road intersection. It's currently zoned commercial office. The property is also located in the CRA, so that means that the applicant is required to rezone it to a planned development. The size of the property is approximately 1.45 acres. The property currently has a two-story building on there, as well as some paved parking and open space / trees. On the left, you'll see the existing zoning map showing the pink, which is indicative of the commercial office zoning. And the map on the right shows the proposed zoning, where you'll see that the subject property has now a purple zoning designation for the planned development. The applicant is requesting the PD zoning to allow for commercial office and commercial general uses. This provides a bit more flexibility for the site for future businesses and tenants. The applicant is proposing a 9,000 square foot mixed-use office and retail building with a financial institution with a drive-through as its anchor. Here is the concept plan that the applicant submitted. The property is bordered by three different streets, with Floto Ave to the north, Ridgedale Road to the east, and Bullard Parkway to the south. The blue shows where the 9,000 square foot building is going to be. It is a one-story building. The green is showing where the stormwater pond is going to be, which is adjacent to Floto Ave and also adjacent to Temple Terrace Elementary. The property will have two access points, a full access on Ridgedale Road and a right-in, right-out only on Bullard Parkway. And you'll see that the drive-through is placed to the rear of the building. With this application, the applicant is requesting some waivers from the Land Development Code. A majority of these waivers deal with the site layout, and it's really due to the financial institution and their, drive-through and certain safety requirements to have maneuverability and vehicle access throughout the building or throughout the site around the building. And then here are the remaining three. The Planning Commission staff reviewed the request and found it consistent with the comprehensive plan. City staff recommends that council approve the ordinance for RZP 21-02. That concludes staff presentation. The applicant doesn't have a PowerPoint presentation, but they do have some foam boards that show the elevation of the building. So I'm going to let him show you that.
Very good, Ms. Lau, thank you. Welcome, sir.
Good evening. But you,
This is a zoning. Yeah.
good evening, council members. My name is Tyler Hudson. I'm an attorney with the law firm Gardner Brewer, and I'm here on behalf of the applicant. I'd like to first introduce some of the experts who we have here this evening and comprise the project team that has been working on this project for since the beginning of what's been quite a long year, I think, for everyone. Brad Carnes with Paradise Ventures is the contract purchaser for this property and the developer. We also have Guy Faber, the architect who designed the building and can answer any questions that you may have regarding the design that you see before you. We also have another elevation that we can switch out. Ricky Paterica with Dark Moss is a certified arborist and has been working with the project from the very beginning. Ty Maxey with Summit is our urban planner. And finally, we have Chris Mears here with Native Engineering, who's the civil engineer on the project. I'd like to thank, really Celeste and the team for, we've worked on this project quite extensively, and that it is coming to you this evening with a recommendation of support from your zoning staff and as well as your planning commission, I think is a testament to the amount of work that has gone into this project. This is not a half-baked idea that we're throwing like a paper airplane before you and just sort of see how it lands. A significant amount of work has gone in to ensure that this site is compatible to the maximum degree with your existing regulations, being mindful that there are some unique variables with this site. Understanding that we also got the email from Ms. Dell late this afternoon. We didn't prepare a formal presentation, but I wanted to make ourselves available for questions. I think to be most respectful of your time and the fellow travelers on the agenda, I think it might be best to open up to public comment, and then I'd like to really reserve some time, if possible, to address any of their issues and questions that you might have after that, if that's okay with you.
Very good, thank you. Do you mind changing that out before you step
Yes.
down? So we can see the other, oh, you have another, I'm sorry, I thought it was behind that one.
Good evening, everybody. This is Brad Carnes of Paradise. So that was the front elevation you were looking at from the view from Bullard Parkway, and this would be the side in the rear.
Okay, I wanted to see the north one, that's what I was curious about. Okay, thank you. Are there members of the, I do have some. So, for our first speaker is Jane Adamson. Welcome, Ms. Addison.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. My name is Jane Adamson, and I live at 420 Montrose. I've lived in Temple Terrace over 20 years, and my husband and I bought our home here because of the golf course and the beautiful trees. A short time after arriving here, I joined the Temple Terrace Garden Club, and I became a champion of our trees. I helped chair a committee that developed a brochure that was distributed to residents, encouraging them to plant trees. We had a photo contest called the Trees of Temple Terrace, and shortly after we became a Tree City USA. Following that, the club established a partnership with the city for the Adopt a Tree Committee, and over approximately 5 years, we met our goal of planting 1,000 trees in our city. I went to the plot in question, the actual property, and I looked around. I saw some trees, one that I'm going to talk about in just a minute. I saw to the east a law office with a renovated Spanish-style home. The other way, I saw apartments across Bullard. Next to it on the west was a sort of low-profile set of offices and of course, the school property behind. It was very low-key, no neon lights, and there were trees surrounding it. There is a special tree on this plot. It is over 50 inches in circumference. Our city arborist estimated it's between 100 and 200 years old, which means it was probably here before we even were a city. When I looked at the plot plan, all I saw was a square of parking of asphalt surrounding this building. The parking spaces were maxed out to the street with minimal planting areas. In fact, I didn't see, they said they're working with an arborist, but I didn't see any trees indicated. The arborist tells me that to mitigate the 100-year-old tree, they would have to plant 33 trees just to mitigate that one tree, and there's no space for that. 7 variances are requested. It's not only the tree I'm concerned about, it's the invasion of light and traffic into that residential area up Ridgedale. When I come home to Temple Terrace, coming up 56, turning right into Bullard, I am happy to leave the commercial area behind and drive and enter into our peaceful neighborhood. I encourage you to think of other alternatives use of this piece of property, something that is more in keeping with the residential area. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Adamson. Next speaker is Ron Govan. Welcome, Mr. Govan. You're familiar with this room, I trust?
From the other end. Ron Govan, Temple Terrace, Florida. I always used to forget that. Anyhow, what, I'm going to make it real, I won't say a lot here. The property is owned by the Tomasinos. I think most of you know the Tomasinos. They've lived in this city for a long time, and they've done just about everything that could be done for the city, and have been very representative of good construction. And Mr. Paul Tomasino died just recently, and she called me, asked me to say a few words, since she is no longer here in Temple Terrace. She has moved up to Ohio. Not sure why, other than family. But they have attempted to sell this property a number of times. It seems to me, in looking at the recommendation from the city, that this is a project that would look nice on that lot. It would change. It's well undeveloped, perhaps, on that lot, and it would blend nicely with the redevelopment that we worked hard on for many years. Keeping that in mind, when you look at this, it meets the criteria of being on the edge of the downtown. It's just outside of the CRA, or on the edge, actually, as the documents say. And so it would be part of that and would blend into it. And I think the parking problem, or the traffic problem, would be relieved to some degree in that you would have access and I don't know what you'd call it, egress or, anyway, from both directions. So you'd have traffic movement that would move in and out and would not be a problem. I'm sorry. Anyhow, I would like to recommend that the recommendation of the staff be considered and that you go forward with it if there are questions that can be taken care of at a later time.
Thank
But,
Thank you, Mr. Govinak.
okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Jan Tumbleson. Welcome, Ms. Tumbleson.
Mayor, City Council. Okay. This building at 234 Bullard Parkway was built in 1926. From the east to 56th Street, it says here, I'm in Temple Terrace, the amazing city. There's two great buildings side by side. There's the law offices and Tomasino. The entrance to Temple Terrace is the churches, the Florida College residence along Bullard Parkway. Everyone knows the area, including the uses, and also the waiting time on Ridgedale Avenue to get in and out because of the school. Okay, the variance requests are very different between the Tomasino's property and the Lupton's property. The Tomasino's property was built in 1926. The Lupton's property was built in 1969. Tomasino's had a lot of green space. Lupton's was all asphalt and surrounded by commercial areas. This is a historic building with Tomasino's. The site plan removes over 50% of the trees. Okay, the entrance on residential area is on Ridgedale. Okay, there's more than 50% of the frontage regarding the parking instead of just 30%. Okay, the blank wall, they've asked for a variance, is blank. And they want to decrease it from 50% to less than 30. The landscape buffer on Bullard Parkway is 10 feet without any trees being shown. On Ridgedale Avenue, there is 8 feet landscape buffer without trees. Remember, when you're approving this site plan and this plan development based on Ordinance 1518, you are also approving all these variances and also the use. I don't have a problem with the use. I have a problem with all these variances. And I hope y'all will consider that and ask for more information, because you don't get a lot of information during the plan development. It goes through the site plan review. But if you approve this ordinance 1518 tonight, you are approving all the variances. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Thomason. The next speaker is, I'm sure I'm going to say this wrong, Richard Peterica? I'm with the applicant. Oh, okay, so you're not a member, okay. Are there other members of the public who wish to speak on this? Mr. Ritter. Welcome, sir.
Again. Well, since I've lived in Temple Terrace, soon to be.
I know who you are, but the record needs to know.
Jack Ritter, Temple Terrace, 227 Willowwick Avenue.
Thank you.
If I make it till the 15th of December, it'll be 76 years a resident of this city. The house that we're talking about today was occupied when I was a child by Dr. Jobson. The legal office across the street, occupied by Dr. Duncan. So those are two houses. We managed to save the Duncan house. What are we gonna do to the now Tomasino house? Love Paul Tomasino, he's a neighbor of mine for years. I don't understand why we can't take this property, look at it like you looked last meeting on 56th Street, and try to figure out what you and we want on that property. We don't need to take the first blush, and I understand the Tomasinos have tried to put a gas station on it and whatever. But somebody has to consider the house on Floto. Whatever you do in this property needs to consider those people. That was the McCarley house. I don't know what we're doing to Temple Terrace. God only knows what you'll do with mine, and my house will soon be 100 years old. But I have an acre and a half of property, just like you have there. But you don't need to be putting 9,000 square feet of commercial space on that property in addition to that dwelling. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ritter. I think I saw other hands. I think I saw Mr. Bergorlich first, sir, and then you'll be next. Mr. Bergorlich, welcome.
Thank you. David Pogorowicz, City of Temple Terrace. I just want to, again, caution you. I know most of you that have been here a while know, and I'm actually a little surprised that staff made the recommendation. We haven't heard any explanation as to all the variances, but normally when a property comes to us with the number of variances that we saw tonight, that property ought not be approved. And that's typically what happens. The variances there are there for a reason. And if it comes to you with that many variances, it probably ought not be built. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bergorlich. Sir, are you with the applicant or are you here with the public?
I guess I'm the real estate broker. I guess you could put me with the applicant.
You'd be with the applicant, yeah. And you'll get you'll get an opportunity to rebut all of this, yeah. Are there other members of the public who wish to address this item? City council members, questions for the applicant or staff? Councilmember Schister.
How many trees are planning on being removed? Whoever, I don't care who.
Good evening, Tyler Hudson for the applicant. I think to make this more efficient, I'll take the incoming questions and try to get you to the right person. So I'd like Ricky Petarica with Dark Moss, a certified arborist, to shed some light on that.
Welcome, sir.
Good evening, Council Mayor. Ricky Petarica, Dark Moss, Tampa, Florida. I'm a board-certified master arborist, registered consulting arborist, landscape architect, and certified planner. Regarding the question, there are 26 trees on the property, including right-of-way trees. Approximately 5 are exempt or invasive species, and 25 are proposed for removal.
And it doesn't sound like there's any more room left on the property to replace those trees. What would be the mitigation fees on that, Charles?
I believe it was around
Calculated that yet?
65,000.
Pardon much?
65,000.
65,000? Seems light for the 100.
Several of the trees were invasive, several were in poor condition, several were in good condition and certainly warrant mitigation.
Okay. Where, can we put these, if this was to go through, can we put those trees someplace else when we replace them?
No, you can't move that.
Or does it have to be in that property?
You can't move a 100-year-old tree.
No, I know that. I know that. I realize that.
If you can't get trees on the site to mitigate the amount of trees that are being removed, that additional money on a per inch basis goes into our tree bank.
In the future. Okay. That was my big questions.
Where is, we don't have a map of the property up, but can you
I'm able to guide.
help describe where this 100-year-old tree is on the property? Is it on the?
The far east side.
Yeah.
Or just the site plan, I may be able to
Yeah.
assist.
When you're done.
It's kind of tough to see. I think that. I think that is. Yeah, I know.
Oh, this will be tough.
It's close to the letter S.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah. So
That's true. You're correct. I totally forgot about that. There we go.
Okay. The tree to be retained let's start at the good news, is let's say 100 feet west of the Bullard and Ridgedale intersection on the south side of the road. I apologize, this isn't a PowerPoint or a pinup board, but this is looking west on Bullard, and this is the tree that's straddling the right-of-way line. It's a 32-inch live oak in good condition, and that's the tree proposed to be retained. The tree that I believe that one of the speakers spoke to, I'm not a dendrochronologist, so I don't know the age of the tree. I looked back at a 1958 aerial photograph. It's inconclusive. 1968, it does seem to be there, so I'll at least put it that far. And I measured it as a 49-inch live oak in good condition with fair structure. If we could pull the site plan back up. So thank you. If we follow along Bullard to the two-way ingress egress on the south, imagine you're driving in a car, you stop right after you enter the property, and there's a parking island at the southwest corner of the building. That's approximately where that tree would be located. And according to city regulation, at 49 inches, it would require 1/3 of the critical root zone to be preserved. That is approximately 15 feet radius, which would be a 30-foot tree protection zone to accommodate the roots of that tree.
Thank you. Councilmember Chambers?
Yeah, I have a couple questions, but one is, since we're on that tree, if the property is not rezoned, a building can go in there, correct, from somebody? Yes. There's lots of uses. Could this project scaled back go in there?
So the property is currently zoned commercial office, which means that even without the rezoning, the developer could come in and build an office space there already. In terms of scaling it back, I think that would be, I guess, a question.
Well, I meant, could this type of project, why PD?
It's within the CRA, so anytime that an applicant wants to rezone a property in the CRA, they would have to rezone it to PD. And also the applicant is rezoning it to allow for both commercial general and commercial office uses, so that the tenants or businesses can have a wider flexibility on what they could put there.
Okay, so to follow up, so if it wasn't rezoned, something could go in there now.
Correct, a commercial office could.
And would the footprint of what could go in there now, would that impact the 100-year-old tree?
Yes. Oh, yes, the future land use allows for a max of 4.5 FAR. So again, this is within the downtown mixed use future land use. So yeah, the building, this isn't being rezoned to allow for a bigger building or anything. It's more for the uses. So yes, right now there could be a building that goes in there without any rezoning, and it could impact the tree.
Okay, one more. Well, I had it there for a second.
Let me know when you think of it, and
Yeah, sorry.
I'll come back to you. Just, council member, other questions?
Go ahead. No, I have a question about why so much parking when most
I got it.
banking is now
You got it.
basically virtual, even when you get in the bank.
Sure.
You're talking to someone on a camera.
Brad can speak to that a little bit. There's a little bit of a distinction certainly between the parking requirement that's in your land development code and what retail users want and retail developers want, and what they require in binding lease agreements that are entered into under the assumption of a rezoning and of a contract closing. And it's not just the bank. The building proposed is 9,000 square feet, of which 3,000 comprises the drive-through bank, which certainly might not be an industry where there's going to be more and more cars, but we are looking to other retail users for the other portions, and we anticipate that they're going to require more than that absolute minimum level of parking.
Okay, I don't think I understood that it was more than a bank, so that, I understand that now.
Yes, ma'am. It's a 9,000 square foot building, 3,000 of which is leased to a credit union. The other 6,000 feet may be developed as a single user, or perhaps as many as 3.
I'm trying not to make comment about the building across the street.
Not yet, it's question time.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll come back to you for comments, I promise.
Yeah, that's-
Councilmember
no, it's
Abe,
okay.
Councilmember
Okay,
Chambers.
Thank you, I remembered. We're asked to change the zoning tonight, and there are variances involved. Are these variances part of the zoning change, or does that come back to us with site plan?
Yeah, so many of these waivers do deal directly more of the site layout, which would be discussed in detail during the site plan review. In the to be transparent, the applicant wrote it in their justification because they knew that this is something they were going to be asking. So they wanted to bring this, to council during the rezoning so that they, if there were any comments, any concerns from council, from the public, this could be, possibly maybe worked in or, yeah.
Councilman? So we are asking for those waivers to be approved this evening because the building shape that's in the conceptual site plan before you is based on those waivers being granted. It was Mark Twain, he was asked once, how do you go bankrupt? And he said there's 2 ways, there's gradually and suddenly. And with waivers in PD projects, it's often the same. Waivers can sometimes be accumulated over time as a project changes. These waivers come all at once, and that's for one main reason. There's 3 street frontages on this property. That's highly unusual. The fact that this is also located at the edge of your CRA boundary and has some dimensional requirements that are nearly impossible to comply with in a situation where you have literally 3 different street frontages. I would note that there was an O'Reilly Auto Parts not far away that was approved, I think in early 2020 or late 2019. It had 14 waivers. It's twice as many as we had, and a lot of those arose for really some similar reasons, just the way the land sits. All of it's not like we can just pull back 1 or 2. They're really a package of waivers.
Okay, thank you.
So let me ask a question to make sure I understand this correctly, Ms. Lau. And correct me if I'm wrong. Normally, since I've been on council, I think the first step is the request for rezoning, and then we vote to rezone or not. And then at a future time, we discuss the site plan and we look at the elevations and the parking spaces and the things like that, and then we say yes or no to that. Tonight's case is different, if I'm understanding correctly, in that we're being asked on step 1 to approve all of this at the rezoning. Am I correct? Isn't that what he just said? Did I misunderstand that?
Did he, or no?
Maybe, Mr. Anisi, can you?
Yes, I haven't swear for testimony if you want to do that, so
Go ahead and tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do. I'm an NEC Community Development Director. Typically, part of the rezoning process, we bring this waiver to you as a conceptual plan, so you are aware of it. With that information, you are approving this rezoning, because if we bring it down the road, part of the site plan, that may not, again, be to your advantage. So we are transparent. We are putting this before you so you understand eventually what you will going to approve. So.
Okay, I understand that, but let's just say,
Variances, isn't it?
let's just say that hypothetically speaking, okay, we're kind of okay with the idea. We'd have to talk more about it, of course.
Sure.
But let's just say hypothetically that some of us wanted to talk more about the back side of this building, the north elevation. So when the site plan comes back before us, and all these folks are here asking for us to approve the site plan, they're gonna say, well, you already approved all the waivers at the rezoning, so there's nothing to talk about the back of the building, because you guys already gave us a waiver.
The reason is for that because we have the building concept, okay? This is a financial institution with a certain types, okay? So they have to have a drive-through for this bank.
No, but I understand all of that, but it's really not the drive-through that's bothering me, it's the rest.
Right.
But we've in the past on these odd-shaped lands, because this isn't the first time, and he's right, it's very hard when you've got buildings that have streets on three sides and you're trying to build a building without a back. I mean, we've had this problem before, but we've figured out how to mitigate it in the other cases. In this case, if I'm understanding what's going on here right now, if we vote to approve the rezoning, we're buying into the waivers tonight. So the site plan discussion is moot. Am I misunderstanding that, City Attorney?
No, you're not misunderstanding it. That they're seeking a rezoning and all of the waivers are included in this ordinance.
Okay, so couldn't these things be bifurcated like the normal process requires? So that we discuss the rezoning tonight and the site plan, that's how we always do it, is it not?
In some
You
cases.
you can do that, but the applicant is wanting it all decided tonight, and the rules have changed in past years. They now have I'll use the word right, to ask you for all the approvals at once, because in some cases, somebody may be interested in a rezoning, but their particular building isn't fleshed out yet. They don't know exactly what they want, and that would come later. In this particular case, they know what they want, and unless they're willing to give up any portion of this here tonight, this is what is before you. So I don't know if they're willing to amend this or change their request at all.
We have to remember, again, we have certain restriction about this site. We have the library, we have the fire department in the back, okay? So these are for emergency access. We have a school in the back too. So again, we go around and we look this comprehensively. You got traffic light at the Ridgedale, and then is a county road in the front. So you have number of challenges for this particular site to get developed. Okay?
Let me ask another question about one of the variances that I don't understand.
Yes.
Requested waiver number 5, I can't figure out what this means. It says a waiver from section so-and-so to allow parking area that exceeds more than 50% of the total lot street frontage within the front of the building within the build-to-line area along the primary and secondary streets. I can't figure out what that means. I don't know.
Make a comment on this?
Can you, I mean, maybe that's a minor thing, I just don't know what it means.
Yeah, so typically within the CRA, we want to have the parking to the rear of it.
Yep.
But because the way the site and the the proposed use is, they have a drive-through in the back. So the applicant would then have to have the parking, which would be more than 50% of the parking, to be within the build-to line and the front of the building. So that's sort of what that waiver is for, because
What's the build-to line?
the build-to line is where the building would need to come forth. It's essentially where you would have to build your building, if that makes sense.
Okay, thank you. Council members, other questions?
No.
Can I address something, Council?
Sure.
I think there was a question about the bifurcating this and the waivers. We know for sure that the waivers are necessary to accommodate not just the general site plan that's in front of you, but I'd submit that most configurations of development for a site that's this shaped at an intersection like this with the traffic that comes along a commercial corridor like this, albeit on the edge, is going to require nearly all of these waivers. That's I just think a very significant probability. The design, to the extent that there's any concerns about that, those elevations, those aren't necessarily being approved tonight. And if there's some interest in council
Yeah, but
retaining.
see, that's the fuzzy part. Are they or are they not? Because one of your waivers deals with the blank wall on the north elevation.
Sure, and
So,
yeah, let me clarify that. So to the extent, if the waiver is approved tonight regarding the blank wall, then I don't think you could subsequently, deny an elevation solely for that one specific reason. If there are other issues, though, with the articulation or something like that, that council had concerns with, I think that is the type of thing that we could work with staff on subsequently to a first reading tonight. But we do want to be very transparent. These waivers, the dimensional changes are necessary. We don't want to get a box approved and then come to you 2 months later and said, by the way, here are all the waivers we need. We want to be very, very transparent and candid about some of the limitations this site has based on the 3 frontages and the interaction that it's in a fairly urban district. I would note too, from an intensity standpoint, we're at, I think, 0.15 FAR. That's you could go literally 30 times what we are proposing. There can be concerns, of course. Maybe there's a little bit too much parking. Okay, well, a user that's less parking intensive is self-storage. There'd be folks probably out the door if that's the proposal here. So this is a tough site, and it's a tough code in how it all interacts with each other. And this is, again, the best, I think, most reasonable configuration we could come up with.
and I can't speak for the council, I can only speak for me. And I understand, having been on the council a while, I get the 3 roads and the footprint and I understand the parking. I kind of, and the drive-through, all that, I get that. We've been through this with Burger King and Paragon. I mean, it's tough to build a building that's exposed on all sides. However, in the previous cases, we've never, that I'm aware of, since I've been on the council, we've never approved everything in one shot at the first night. And we've never been asked to do that. And I'm personally, I don't know how other people feel, I'm personally leaning towards disapproval, but not because I don't like the project and don't like the rezoning, because I don't like some of what I see here. And in pushing this all in one bundle through tonight may jeopardize your success on the rezoning, when in fact, I probably would be in favor of the rezoning, but I'd like to have some more talk about the building elevations and what you're gonna do. And you're kind of pushing us to an all or nothing tonight. I wish you weren't doing that, because.
That's not my intent. I'm not here to jeopardize the success of projects.
Right.
I can promise you that. I think if we had perhaps a.
Yeah, you can yeah, Brad Carnes of Paradise Ventures. We're the contract purchaser for this property. I think one of the things we could do is, we submitted this building elevation for reference only as part of our PD and site plan application. If everyone's okay with it, we could remove that waiver request from this application and this ordinance, so that it was just the site plan related items.
Sure. Basically, this is a concept, okay? We could tweak it. I mean, we could, again, come back again if you guys want to add element to it.
Yeah, no, but we can't, Amir, because we're waiving the glazing requirements on the back wall, so we can't.
Right.
We can't go, I mean, we could if they just said, okay, we're gonna do it because we want them to. But if we give them a waiver that says they can have a blank wall on the north side, we can't make them not have a blank wall on the north side. We gave them a waiver. That's the part that is sticking in my saddle a little bit. Yeah, I'm sorry, I know you're trying to.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Councilmember Chambers.
if we approve this tonight as it's written, in 2 weeks or the next council meeting for second reading, if we don't like it, we can disapprove it then?
Well, we could.
You could.
I was just trying to think, because to be honest, there's a lot of waivers here that I haven't really looked at too hard, because we don't approve waivers tonight.
Well, you're saying the same thing I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly, yes. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, let's get some control of this. Where are we here? I want to make sure we're.
Mayor,
Okay.
I think I'd note a couple of things. First, that this is a first reading approval, which we go towards the second reading. I think there's ample record in the evidence, and I think your city attorney would agree that there are some concerns that have been expressed. So the notion that we could come in at second reading after a presentation like this and assume some automatic entitlement to a unanimous approval, that's a bad case that I wouldn't take, and I don't think anyone would. I think the question about the glazing, that seems to be the waiver that has the most amount of concern. I'm not sure how we could take that out of consideration for today, because it would need to be approved. It would need to get approved twice. We from a timing standpoint, we don't really have adequate time to continue. I think approved with conditions, perhaps, that specific waiver, your approval tonight only of that waiver could be conditioned upon a requirement of further justification at a second reading, which I think we can provide. But the intent here is certainly not to make anyone on this dais feel trapped in again. But these waivers are stubborn things. I think the glazing, I think there is an exception to that. And like Ty, if you can talk a little bit about some things we could possibly do to mitigate the need for that specific waiver.
I know all those things. The point is, I, for one, don't want to approve all these waivers tonight and then just, if I know I have a problem with them, I'm not going to vote for them tonight just to not vote for them in 2 weeks. That doesn't make any sense. And I'm not necessarily in favor of all these, or opposed to all these waivers. What I am kind of hesitant about is wanting to approve all this tonight. I want to see the whole site plan. I want to see the landscape buffer that you are going to build. I want to see where the trees are going to go, and we don't have that level of detail. I want to see what we can do with the back of this building. I don't want to redesign the whole building, but we've done it before. There are ways to make the back of the building look more attractive. So it's the back of the building, but it doesn't look like the back of the building. And it's not just for the school kids at the school, it's for everybody who drives down Ridgedale going to look at the back of this building. And I really think, I'm not against this project. I'm against the way what we're being asked to do tonight is too much.
If I could make a suggestion, then I'd like Brad to weigh in on the timing, but I think one option would be, if your city attorney agrees, would be to revert to a more traditional approval format where a concept plan is approved and then we can subsequently come to discuss some of the waivers. I hope this has been helpful, though, because we are going to be asking for these same waivers. It's a geometry problem, just the way the lot is shaped. But I'd like Brad to give some thoughts on the timing, because we want to be respectful of your time.
Yes, we initially put this property under contract early 2020 for Achieve a Credit Union, who this is their #1 location in all of Tampa Bay for their expansion. So that's why we tied the property up. We've been working closely with Steven Silverman here. He's seller's broker. And Ms. Tomasino was very eager to get this property sold this year. She's been very gracious and gave us several extensions on the purchase contract while we worked closely with staff to come up with a workable site plan. I did want to add that we initially submitted the PD rezoning application in conjunction with our site plan, the full site plan review application. And I believe we were instructed by staff to withdraw the site plan application and only proceed with the PD rezoning. But we intended for all of this to get reviewed concurrently so that we could get the necessary feedback so we can proceed with our closing on a transaction with Ms. Tomasino. I understand what you're saying about the elevation, and we can certainly work that out later, but for us to get the comfort level we need to proceed with the transaction, we need to know that our site plan is conceptually approvable. So like Tyler mentioned, we need those waivers regardless, whether we approve the rezoning now and come back later, it's still the same waivers.
Yeah, but we've given these back wall waivers to other buildings with all kinds of conditions of approval, that they have to have faux features on there, and there's a way around this, but if we approve this tonight, we're relying on the goodness of your heart to do whatever we may require, and I'm sure you have a good heart, I don't mean any offense by that, but
Understand.
we've given away the farm on the first night.
Well, my architect's here, Guy Faber, and I'd like to have him come up and speak about some things we could do to enhance the rear elevation.
That's not the point, though. We can sit here all night and talk about the things you could do. If we give you the variance tonight,
We're done.
yeah, that's not, I mean, I know you can.
We need to withdraw the elevation.
elevations, and that's kind of, I really wish we could talk about the
Yeah,
waivers.
I understand. I'm just trying, procedurally, I don't know how we do that because we can't get delayed or continued. We need, if there's a way we can conditionally approve the other 4 waivers and then not approve this one, or we just can't get delayed any further.
City attorney,
I'm waiting for council to state what they're willing to do tonight, now that I think we've discussed it and he understands what their sticking point is.
What's the option?
It's gonna be like a cycle delay.
So if they want to modify what they're requesting tonight,
So we just pull back that one waiver?
I think we'd have to separate and deal with the waivers separately, get the concept plan approved tonight, get waivers.
one waiver that
Yeah.
everybody has.
No,
a problem
I
with.
understand
think
that.
there's
More than one waiver.
Do a second,
Let's fix
a
it.
secondary first reading for just the waivers.
Okay.
Okay, so here's a proposal. We would separate the waivers and come back for a new first reading hearing to just address the waivers. So tonight, I think the ordinance would be populated by the general concept plan. I think the baseline FAR and the use, certainly the uses, that's very important. And I don't think that's particularly controversial. We're just expanding from CO to CO as well as CG uses. And then, so that, I mean, that will have a second reading for the concept plan that would coincide with a first reading that would present solely the waivers. In the level of detail that the mayor and council has requested regarding some of the details like landscape buffers and things like that.
So tonight, correct me if I'm wrong, the ordinance that is on first reading tonight then would be amended to be only the rezoning and the concept plan, removing the part about requested waivers attached to Exhibit C.
Correct, and ideally, if we could have an item on the agenda so that the second reading of that concept plan approval would be on the same night as a first reading approval for those waivers, because I think that'll
I think we could.
reduce the chance of people getting tired of this project.
Yeah, I mean, this has been noticed for the whole thing, so if you're pulling back and making it smaller, that should not be a problem with with advertising, because I'm looking at the clerk who's giving me a look over the top of the computer there. If they were expanding their request, then we would have a problem.
Correct.
So we could do that tonight. I'm also looking at that it talks about conditions of approval attached to as Exhibit D. I don't know exactly what those were and if it's still going to apply here or if that's going to change as well. Did those rely on the waivers?
There is certain conditions on there that do rely on the waivers, so we can pull that back as well.
Okay.
City manager, what are your thoughts?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This has gotten very confusing and very off track, but typically when you have a PD rezoning and site plan approval happen at the same time, that PD rezoning and site plan approval would essentially bring to you not a concept plan, but a site plan that would address the buffers with trees, landscaping, traffic, so on and so forth, and those things that we typically get approved in a site plan. If I could suggest, if we're going to bring this back for a second reading without addressing and approving the waivers this evening, that we actually ask for a site plan, full site plan, so that we can do it all at one time at second reading, rather than a concept plan. And at that time, the applicant can address all these waivers that they need to have with their site plan that they want to get approved, rather than a concept plan.
Okay, well, that's fine, but tonight, a few items ago, we discussed a site plan review for the VA clinic. That rezoning, both hearings were done some time ago.
Yeah, that's a
So
totally
that's,
different situation because it's not located in the CRA that has design.
oh, okay, all right. But I mean, it's, okay. What are we doing?
I believe that you are considering on first reading tonight an ordinance that will rezone this property from commercial office to planned development. And that ordinance does include an approval. Right now, it's just of the requested waivers included at this time and without the conditions of approval. So you would have, at a later date, we would have the second reading of that ordinance, and I believe you wanted to come back with a first reading on.
Of the site plan, the SPR. Correct.
Turn your mic on.
Not a hearing, though, right? Not a hearing.
So I thought I was loud enough anyway, so.
Brian's having a heart attack.
So you are comfortable with us voting to pass this with this verbal understanding as opposed to, I mean, we don't have this written.
Well,
So the motion would just say we're passing or motioning to,
you would be moving to approve the ordinance with, and you need to state with the amendments to that ordinance being the removal of the requested waivers and a removal of the portion concerning the conditions of approval. And if that's acceptable to the applicant, because they're the ones that have requested this ordinance, so.
hold on a second, I got you.
From a timing standpoint, I think that's our best option.
Okay, so that's agreeable to the applicant, that's agreeable to our city attorney. Okay, Vice Mayor, please keep it brief
I'm
if you
hearing
can.
some conflicting. If I say I approve the site plan tonight,
No.
No, you didn't say that.
okay, I'm only approving the rezoning, period. No, nothing else. I'm not saying, I like this idea, I like the bank, I like this, I don't want to say anything else.
Okay, well, right now in there still, it says with a conceptual plan for proposed development of a 9,000 plus or minus square foot mixed-use office and retail building. End. Are you leaving that
We can't
in?
go to permits with a conceptual plan, where between if you back up from the ribbon cutting to the groundbreaking to the permit and the rounds of comments of the permits, there is a missing site development plan that's not being approved here because there's an omission of any waivers from the resolution that's before you.
Is
So
it
there
going
is
to
a-
throw your timetable completely off to come back in 2 weeks and let's just do this cleanly? 2 weeks is going to kill your whole timetable? That would be so much better. You guys can huddle up, figure out what we need to do, and do this like we normally do it, instead of all this. I mean, is 2 weeks really gonna?
Yeah, if we can hear all the waivers and the rezoning request at the next hearing, and then we could get the second reading 2 weeks after that, in December?
It would also be helpful if, we've heard from the mayor about one particular waiver. If it would be probably helpful to everybody if you could each at least state which waiver is causing you the most heartburn and may prevent you from approving
It would be
this.
easier for us all to know that if we had the site plan. That, we don't have the site plan. It may be that we look at the landscape buffer of the pond in the back and we go, that doesn't look right.
To me, when we're having this much heartburn over an issue, we've asked so many questions over and over again. I'm ready to just pull this thing off, just stop. I'm not willing to accept anything right now.
I agree with the vice mayor. If you have this much discussion about a
Yeah.
rezoning, something's not right.
We've been having to explain
So,
this too
to
much.
your question, Mayor, a 2-week continuance would be great. We'd appreciate the opportunity to come back with a presentation that's a little bit clearer about the level of detail that you're asking to
That good
approve.
with city attorney, city manager, is that good? That's okay with you? Does that work?
That would be fine. You can postpone it till the next
Why
meeting.
don't we do that? I just think that all of us would get a better, I want you guys to get your fair shake too and have good discussion with us. We're not against it. You guys figure that out. We need to see what it is we're approving though, okay?
So if you'll make a motion to postpone.
I move to postpone.
Second.
Motion and a second. Wait a minute, hold on a second. I
Public hearing.
got to close the public hearing and ask the clerk to read the title of the ordinance. Do I need to do that?
No, you table it.
If we're going to postpone it.
Right now, well, you can read the title of the ordinance and
Okay.
then if there'll be a motion, and then if the motion will be to postpone to a date certain.
Thank you.
Okay. Madam Clerk, please read the title of the ordinance.
An ordinance of the City of Temple Terrace, Florida, rezoning 1.45 plus minus acres of land located at 234 Bullard Parkway from zoning classification commercial office to planned development, Temple Terrace, for RZP 21-02, requesting that's part of it.
Read the whole thing.
Requesting 7 waivers from Land Development Code Sections 12-291, 12-294, 12-768, providing for amendment to the official zoning map of the city, providing severability and effective date, and repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Madam Vice Mayor, our next meeting is on the 16th, I believe.
I move to postpone this discussion until November 16th.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there discussion on the motion?
Yeah, go ahead.
Councilmember Schister.
I'll be honest with you. All I can see on that site, we've had a lot of discussion lately about what do we want, okay? I want an Ella's restaurant that is surrounding that tree. I want something that honors what was on that site. Sorry, guys, I don't want this building.
That's for the next meeting.
It is, but my point is, I even feel bad telling them to come back in 2 weeks because if we're trying to look at the properties that we have and use them to the best of our ability, to me, this is not it. Okay, now, there's no restaurant begging to take that up.
Discussion on the motion.
Well, this is the discussion, is that I made the motion, I'm just saying, I made it so that we can get going, get out of
Motion
here.
is to postpone.
All right, then we're gonna postpone.
Okay. Discussion on the motion, Councilmember Schister.
My other caveat is, remember, there's 7 variances of requesting. There's been a lot said about the back wall and so forth. I imagine there's some things that could be done to mitigate that issue. A big one is going to be your parking, and a big one's going to be the trees. The trees are going to be an important facet of it, so.
Other discussion on the motion? If not, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, a nay sign? No nays. We will see you gentlemen on the 16th.
Mayor, we take 3.
We will be adjourned till a quarter after.
Thank you.
Good idea.
Thank you.
Back in session here. Our next item of business is the first public hearing and first reading of Ordinance 1517, Land Development Code Text Amendment regarding Section 12-40, Article 6, and Article 9, Text 21-01. I'll open the public hearing. Planner Celeste Lau will try to explain. Welcome back.
You did your best.
Thank you. This item is TXT 21-01, which is a Land Development Code Text Amendment for floodplain regulations. These amendments will be affecting 3 sections of the Land Development Code. The first will be Section 1240, definitions. The second is Article 6, variances. And the third is Article 9, design standards and development criteria, specifically focusing on floodplain management regulations. So Section 12-40 definitions. This amendment request amends the definition for accessory structures and manufactured homes, specifically how they're defined. Article 6 variances. In this section, Section 12-158 zoning standards is amended by removing the floodplain protection language. And the reason why it's being removed is because Section 12-563 actually already has these floodplain protection regulations in there. So to reduce duplication and any conflicts, we're removing it from this section. And then Article 9, design standards and development criteria. The amendment requests to amend the regulations for accessory structures and manufactured homes within flood hazard areas. So there are 2 reasons as to why these amendments are being requested. The first is to be consistent with Federal Emergency Management Agency or FEMA policies. And the second is to maintain the city's community rating system or CRS rating. Just to give a little bit of background on the CRS system, CRS rating, in case the public is interested. The CRS is a voluntary incentive program that's managed by FEMA. What it does is that it allows or it encourages cities to exceed minimum requirements for floodplain regulations or for regulations set by the National Flood Insurance Program or NFIP. With the rating system, there's a rating of 1 to 10, with 1 being the highest possible rating and 10 being the lowest. To maintain a rating of 8 or higher, these amendments are required. On October 4th, the Planning Commission found the request consistent with the comprehensive plan, and city staff recommends that council approve the ordinance for TXT 21-01.
Thank you, Ms. Lau. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Seeing none, council member questions for Ms. Lau? I have one. The language about the mobile homes, doesn't the city code prohibit mobile homes from within the city? I'm confused. Does this change that in any way?
No, it does not.
It does not?
It does not. No, it does not.
Okay.
FEMA looks at mobile homes as being manufactured homes, just as manufactured homes, the modular homes.
Okay.
They group them all together.
Okay, so this doesn't change anything about that. Okay, great. Very good. Thank you. Close the public hearing. Ask the clerk to read the title of the ordinance.
An ordinance of the City of Temple Terrace, Florida, relating to floodplain management, amending the City of Temple Terrace Code of Ordinances, Chapter 12 of the Land Development Code, 12-40, definitions, Article 6 entitled Variances, and Article 9, Division 3 entitled Floodplain Management, to provide criteria for accessory structures in flood hazard areas and to specify elevation of manufactured homes in flood hazard areas, providing for applicability and severability, providing for an effective date, and repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there a motion?
Move to adopt ordinance 1517, Land Development Code Text Amendment.
Second.
First reading, excuse me, yes, first reading.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? If not, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed with the nay sign? No nays. The ordinance is adopted on first reading and will appear for second reading and public hearing on Tuesday, November 16th. Next item on the agenda is a resolution approving the purchase of playground equipment from Top Line Recreation, Inc. Leisure Services Director Carl Langfeld, who's been patiently commiserating in the gallery, will explain.
Good evening, Mayor, members of City Council. Carl Langfeld, Leisure Services Director. I'm here tonight requesting approval of a resolution to purchase playground equipment for University Square Park in the amount of $83,155.39 out of Appropriation Code 001-1896-572-6499. These funds were budgeted in the fiscal year 21-22 budget. And this purchase is being made by piggybacking on St. John's County School Board Contract number 2018-04. Currently, University Square Park has an assortment of playground equipment that was installed there during a park construction project back in 2013. Some of that playground equipment was removed about a month ago because it was no longer safe or suitable for use. The other significant piece, the other large piece of playground equipment that is at that location is not far behind. So those pieces were scheduled for replacement for this year. The selected pieces of equipment that are going in there are suitable for ages 2 to 12 years of age. We're excited to do some redevelopment in that area on the west side of 56th Street, which can certainly use some upgrades to their playground equipment. So again, I come to you for approval of this resolution. I stand for any questions you may have.
Very good, thank you, Mr. Langfeld. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Seeing none, council member questions for Mr. Langfeld? Seeing none, thank you very much. Is there a motion?
Yes, I'd like to approve the purchase of the playground equipment from Top of the Line Recreation, Inc.
Top line.
Top Line, sorry.
Motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Discussion on the motion.
I think, I'm so happy to see that you're refurbishing that playground.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody's been in that neighborhood lately, but they built their own little library, and I mean built their own. It's not one of the little standard boxes. This thing is about this big, and they painted it themselves and everything. It's really sweet. So I'm glad you're doing it.
Further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, a nay sign? Resolution is adopted. Thank you, Mr. Langfeld. Next item on the agenda is a resolution approving a design task work order for the rehabilitation of the Tupelo North Lift Station. City Engineer Brian McCarthy will explain. Welcome.
Good evening, everyone. Mr. Mayor.
You look too chipper for it being 9:30 at night.
Always enjoy being here. Again, Brian McCarthy, City Engineer. I'm here this evening seeking approval for a design task work order to Kimley Horn and Associates for the rehabilitation of the Tupelo North Lift Station. In this figure here, in red, is the location of our lift station. It's outside the city limits, but within our utility service area. And this figure just kind of shows you what the existing structure looks like. Part of our design plan is to rehabilitate this lift station by demoing the existing building, rehabbing the wet well, and will include new pumps, pipes, control panel, older control, and an outdoor generator. Some of the scopes of services that Kimley Horn will provide include survey, design, permitting, bidding assistance, and construction admin services. That said, staff recommends City Council approve the design task work order to Kimley Horn and Associates for the rehab of the Tupelo North Lift Station in the amount of $94,748.74 to be provided from account number 430-3899-535.63-33. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. McCarthy. Are there members of the public who wish to comment? If not, council member questions?
What was the total value of the entire rehab project, including construction? Do you remember?
Including construction, I want to, thinking it was somewhere around $350,000.
That's what I thought it was. Okay, not related, not a direct question, but it's related to these other projects. We got a Gantt chart a couple weeks ago. can we get an updated Gantt chart as to where these projects fit into the system, including sidewalks and so forth? Just a general question. I'm okay with it. Yeah.
Okay, yes.
Other questions, Mr. McCarthy? Brian, how old is this lift station? You have any idea?
It's about 40 years old.
What's the-
Typical lift station goes to about 20 years.
That was my next question.
It's
Okay,
time.
very good. Is there a motion?
I move to approve the
Second.
design task
Sorry.
work order
thought she
for the
stopped.
rehabilitation of Tupelo North Lift Station. And I know that Mr. Schistler wants to second.
I got a feeling he's
Yeah.
gonna second it. I can just feel it.
Thank
We have a motion and a second. Is there discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? No nays. The resolution is adopted. Thank you for your patience, gentlemen. Look at that. Council business. Is there any carryover business from previous council meetings? Carryover business, next item is new business and board reports. Is there any new business or board reports?
I do, I have some new business. that,
Councilmember Schistler.
I want to piggyback on with the discussion from the country club earlier. We've discussed this amongst us, with SAC and with management there. And at the end of the discussion, at the end of the presentation, I'm a little punchy, was discussion about dead and dying trees. Okay. As they had indicated, with the tree issue the tree project that they had earlier in the year, they've done roughly 45%, I guess, or closer to 50% replacement of the trees that they removed. Subsequent to that, with the drought conditions down there and the age of the trees and the laurel oak situation, we got a lot of dead trees on the whole project, the whole property, all throughout the whole 200 acres. They have spoken with Joe, our arborist, and he's come out and he's gone the entire property with the grounds people, and they come to the conclusion there's about 100 dead or dying trees. Some of them are just so far dead that they're just falling over in spot. And unfortunately, due to all the circumstances involved with COVID and so forth, the club just has not recovered sufficiently enough to go out there and take care of that. With the initial tree mitigation project that they had, they are putting back some trees, and they paid for cutting the trees down, and the city helped out by hauling the debris away over a period of time. They've asked me to ask council to look into ways that we can assist with getting the dead trees off of essentially our property. We have an issue, and I don't want to throw that out there as a factor in it, but it is a true statement. If a tree falls on somebody, a non-golfer, then we could ultimately end up with some liability in the issue. I have helped them look for grants. There's nothing. They just don't have the money in their operating contingencies to effectively take care of something like that. And some of the streets are highly visible, like Glen Arvin, and there's just I guess 6, 8 dead trees all in a row. So I don't know that I have an answer, and I'm not asking council. I don't know what I'm asking council to do, except to understand they do have an issue and see if we can find a way. Maybe there's grants that we're not aware of, that they haven't been able to find, that would help to cover the cost, because these are drought-affected trees, and they've outlived their usefulness. And we're going to have this kind of issue throughout the city with other people who have laurel oaks. I know I lost my laurel oak on the front yard, and I'm kind of asking for council for some help that I can tell them, or some guidance on what suggestions. And I don't need an answer tonight. I'm not looking for any resolution to this tonight, but just maybe there's somebody in staff who can help us, or whatever.
Do you know what the anticipated, how much money do they need?
The quotations that they've received are in the $70,000 range.
7-0?
7-0, to take down everything and haul it away and grind down the stumps.
Didn't we spend $70,000 or $80,000 just hauling away?
No, I think we spent about 20, huh?
50 something.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's.
They got quotes.
We paid 52 just in tipping fees, right?
No, it wasn't that much.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, so that can't be,
There's a lot more trees than what you're talking about, though. That what we
Yeah,
took off.
then they
There's
took
a
the-
lot more trees.
I'm just telling you what the quotes are. I haven't looked into that. So I'm just saying that we got an issue with one of our property owners, one of an ARP that's in our property. So it's, I don't have an answer, but it needs to bring it to council's attention that there is a problem, and it's it's not growing, but it's not getting any better.
okay, well, let's, let the city manager and, what do you wanna do? Do you wanna look at this a little bit and come back to us, or what?
Yeah, just give me some direction to kind of do a little bit of research.
Yes.
I've actually, I think I got a bid from Jim Music out of the,
Right.
just out of nowhere.
I don't either.
But I've also reached out to some of the people that we do business with, the city does business with, and looking at kind of breaking some of this cost down, what it would cost to cut versus to haul. So let me continue with doing a little bit of research and bring you back something.
Okay.
It's unbudgeted funds. We're going to have to find the money somewhere, but we'll address that as well.
Okay. Councilmember Chambers.
And would any of this work be eligible for our tree bank money?
No, unfortunately, our ordinance for our tree bank, the beautification fund, is very limited as far as tree replacement. It doesn't specify using those funds to cut and remove trees. It's for replacement trees. Now, that's an ordinance. Council can certainly make an amendment to that ordinance, but there are funds there if you would care to do that. So.
Why don't you guys have some conversation?
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
I'll bring it back. I just wanted to bring, I don't even, let the council know, add on to what they had said in their presentation.
yeah.
Didn't want to bring it any earlier because they hadn't been here to make their presentation to us on a regular basis, so. And there are possible ways to cover the funding if that became an issue, just utilizing what we know within our budget, so. Okay, we'll come back.
Good with this?
I'm good with that.
Okay.
I have another point to bring up that has nothing to do with trees.
Okay, well,
I'm-
you have the floor unless you.
I'm done, I'm
You're
done, I'm
Okay,
done.
you now have the floor.
Okay, I just want for everyone in this room to recognize that we have in our presence an Athenian fellow.
Yes.
Taking my thunder.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Your thunder,
No, the vice mayor, you beat me to it.
I beat you to it, I'm sorry.
ahead. Here,
No,
did
you
you
know, when
read
you
it?
got a good idea, I got it right.
Oh, you got it right there, okay.
So if you didn't know, the Athenians were leaders who invented the idea of political democracy, philosophy, logic, and rhetoric. They left the world enriched with their ideas. The choice of Athenian in the title of the Leadership Society signals the value of this culture from 2,500 years ago. To be an Athenian fellow is to hold knowledge and the quest for knowledge in high esteem. Municipal clerks, at their best, exemplify Athenian values. And that honor has been bestowed on our own Cheryl Mooney, and I'm so proud, thank you. And she's going to be recognized. So I guess we're also giving you approval to to be gone in 2022 to the annual conference in Little Rock.
Let's not get carried away.
That part you can handle.
Do you wear togas? Toga party?
Very good. Vice Mayor,
Congratulations.
you saved me the trouble. I had it right here. Anything else? Madam Vice Mayor?
No.
Anything else? No other new business, board reports. I have one quick thing, Mr. Stevenson, I don't know if you were planning on bringing this up during your city manager's report or not, but the health insurance increase, were you gonna talk about that tonight?
We can do it now, or we can do it during city manager report.
Well, either way, how long do you anticipate this taking? 'Cause
About 2 minutes.
you wanna bet? Okay, I'll leave it alone then, let you talk about it. Any other new business or board reports?
The Centennial celebration.
Centennial celebration. City of Temple Terrace will be 100 years old on May 28th, 2025, and the city is preparing a celebration plan to mark this milestone anniversary. The Centennial celebration is designed to provide a historical record of the city's first century, highlight the rich history of the city, showcase the city's cultural and ethnic diversity, educate the community about the city's history, and build community spirit and teamwork. A draft plan for the creation, duties, and responsibilities of the Centennial Celebration Committee has been proposed for your consideration. The attached draft resolution establishes the creation of a Centennial Celebration Committee, outlines its purpose and powers, details the appointment and duties of its membership, and provides for its meetings. The second attachment outlines the function and responsibilities of the committee. The Centennial Celebration Committee will serve as the liaison between the community and the city. It is recommended that city staff assist with the coordination of the Centennial by providing input to the committee, by assisting with the organization of events, reviewing celebration documents, providing marketing services for use of the Centennial logo and promotional item. The city is looking for direction on how the council wishes to proceed. Council,
above.
have you read the resolution that's in the backup material? The composition of the committee would be one citizen appointed by each of us. Of course, they would work in conjunction with city staff under the direction of the city manager. The only thing I observed in it, and this is certainly open for any discussion, but the only two things I observed was, one, I'd kind of like the council to maybe approve the logo, because it's going to be all over the place for a long time, and I didn't see that in there. And plus, we could put it up and have public comment too. Put it up at the library, put it up at the rec center, let the public comment on it too, and then we approve that. And two, I noticed in the resolution that the committee would appoint a chair, which is fine, but they would also appoint a secretary to keep their minutes and all that, and I don't know if that's a great idea or not. We don't usually have them taking their own minutes. We usually have our clerk do that.
I'm looking at the clerk, she's saying, please.
Well, it is a sunshine board. You can get jammed up on agendas and notices and minutes pretty easily on a sunshine board if you don't. So,
And I think an Athena would want to do that.
Touche.
that's the only thing I noticed but everything else to me looked great.
Yeah, you're right. It would need to be.
I'm in favor, and now's the time to get it started.
Are those two amendments acceptable that's gonna work? Okay. Sorry, Cheryl.
She's crying.
Okay.
It's okay.
So I would think it's probably appropriate we adopt this resolution but give the city manager some direction here.
Did it say on here when we appoint somebody, the timeline for that? I didn't see
No,
that.
it did not.
Can we agree upon a time to come up with that? When would be good?
We could. Did you need to do some preparatory work once we approve this, so you know?
Yeah.
You might need to.
A little bit more structure that we have to go through and kind of create some.
Yeah, he might need a little time to kind of put some bones together.
We have no idea what logo we're looking at. I can bring it back to council.
Well, yeah, that's further down, but
As far as the appointment of the individuals, as far as the appointment of the individuals on the commission, got to start.
Time to do that. This doesn't have to be done
Okay.
in the next 2 weeks.
Okay.
But, you know, it certainly gives us some direction to move forward here with. And
Okay.
certainly, you know, as we start putting this together, we come up with different ideas, or the committee comes up with some other ideas.
okay.
Bring that back to council.
I think it might be appropriate at this point to make some soft contacts if you have somebody in mind, but I think hold off on telling somebody that you're officially.
And we're actually just going to appoint someone. We're not going to have people apply.
Not be appointments,
It'd be appointments, according to the resolution.
Yeah.
So you
Like-
would,
Right.
like we did the charter review.
yeah, you would just appoint somebody, and then they
Right.
would be the.
That's the way I understood it too.
But I think it's probably better to give the city manager a little time now that we've given him some direction, to let him kind of flesh this out a little bit.
Well, we put money in the budget, didn't we?
There's actually a little bit of seed money in
Yeah.
the budget this year.
Yeah.
Okay. So would somebody like to
Move
make a
to
motion?
approve the resolution with the two modifications that you had talked about.
Did you get those, Cheryl?
There's a motion, is there a second? A motion and a second, is there discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No nays. Resolution is adopted. City managers report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A little while back, I had provided council with an estimate on our insurance costs moving forward for year 22. Those insurance costs, the initial guesstimate they gave us to raise insurance costs was about 30%. And Mr. Caligieri, through Bouchard, was able to get this down to about 15%, which is fairly reasonable from what I'm hearing across the board. That actually, that 15% increase, in calculating some numbers, we're looking at only for 9 months now. Again, we're looking to, we've been on calendar year for the last couple of years. We're looking to go back to fiscal year. It's a little bit easier for us to budget numbers if we do this sooner rather than wait for 3 months. The 15% increase in insurance costs and premium cost, currently we give our employees $674. That includes the retirees as well. What I'm proposing and what I gave you guys as an estimate, it would cost us about $200,000 to increase that 674 to 775, which would absorb that 15% increase that the city is looking to get from United Healthcare, starting January 1. That being said, I think that we can, if we pass this 15% on to our employees and our retirees, we have some funds in the budget. They're not surplus funds. They're certainly funds that we're not relying on a normal basis because of ad valorem. As you know, we can only budget 95% of ad valorem. We've traditionally collected 99% ad valorem. So there's some additional money there that I think we can use to front this $200,000 bill. So my proposal to council, and I need to kind of move forward with this rather quickly because we're putting the program together for 2022 right now, would be to raise the flex dollars from $674 to $775 for employees and retirees.
This starting January?
We'll be starting January 1. Yes, ma'am. But I need to build this number into our premiums right now. So,
How many retirees are getting this stipend?
I don't know that number.
And
I don't
is
know
that.
I'm sorry?
Is that by ordinance that they get it every time we raise the
I think it's by tradition more than anything.
I remember the last time we tried to mess with that.
Yeah.
Well,
Lined out the door.
but I'd like to know why. I mean, is it tradition or is it established in ordinance? Is this something the city committed to in the past, or is this just something that we
I think
do?
I thought it was in writing.
I
but-
thought, yeah, it seems to me that there was everybody's
Hard,
agreement
fast.
when they were, their handbooks and so forth, all said that if retirees would be drug up the same length as the employed individuals.
The retirees have always been, and I don't know the mechanism, Andy, I'll certainly figure that out for you, but the mechanism has always been whatever the general employees get, the retirees get. So,
Yeah, I know.
If I could offer some numbers to what Mr. Stevens is talking about. Our ad valorem valuation is $12,500,000. We collect 5% of that, $625,000, which is, you can't budget that, but we're going to get most of that. And that excess is nowhere indicated in the budget itself. You just can't do it by statute. So if we collect half of that, it'd be $312,000. So that would put us at 97.5% of collections on the ad valorem value of our taxes, which more than covers it.
We have to do this.
You have to do it. You have no choice. You have to do
We
it.
can't pass,
We can't ask
we
the
said we'd
employees.
take care of our employees, and we're gonna take care of our employees, so.
I agree.
Question.
Yes, Councilmember Abel.
So when you say increase the flex dollars by 15%, is that the amount that the city contributes toward these health insurance plans? Is that how that works?
Yes, this is the amount each employee that's on the insurance gets from the city. They currently get $674. This would go to $775.
So employees get to choose different levels of plans depending on.
Well, this is how much the city contributes regardless of what plan they.
Understood. So is there like a minimum plan?
That's
that-
yes, that's their premium and cost.
For the minimum plan?
We have, I just got an outline of the plans today. There are two plans that are less than $775. One that is at $801, and the other one is an HMO that is at $1,000 or something like that. So there are two plans to choose from that would cover the $775 would cover for the employee. And then there's a third plan, a second PPO plan that's, I think it's 801. It was a number that I saw today. So.
Okay, thank you.
You need a motion
I
for
think the
this?
plan to cover it is the right thing to do.
I think it is too, and again, I've been all night, I've been the Scrooge on everything, but I would like the answer, though, to how many city retirees are getting this stipend, and I'd like to nail this down. I've been hearing this for 5-6 years now about the customary, the retired employees get this. I'd really want to know, is that an ordinance? Is that just custom? Is it written into a contract somewhere? Is that part of their pension plan?
It's in their individual.
Well, I want to let him nail it down. I want to see it, because everybody keeps talking about this, but I've never seen this. And
It's got to be somewhere because everyone uses the same language. We were promised this, and now you're not going to live by it.
Okay.
Jerry Seaver can't take it away.
My point
We
is
got a
not,
retiree right here. Maybe he
my
knows.
point is not that it isn't there, but nobody has ever shown me where it is. Yes.
Every year I've declared that I'm a retiree and I get this benefit, but this year I went on Medicare, so I'm no longer a retiree and I don't get this benefit. So I want that for the record.
Well, and the other thing is I've heard talk of, and I don't know if this is true or not, maybe it's not. I've heard talk of people who are of Medicare age still receiving the city's
No.
stipend.
Not by the agreement.
Not by-
Clearly
says it in.
So could you
That was
just,
the argument.
and then I know everybody's gonna skewer me over this whole thing, but I just wanna know I want everybody to understand, what is this? Is this an ordinance? Is this what is the governing thing here?
Andy, I've heard this for 18 years.
Well, I know, let's nail it down.
I'm sure it's somewhere.
That's a very good question that I will get to.
Because I know the Florida retirement system doesn't even give a quarter of this. So, I mean, this is a pretty elegant benefit that we're giving here. Are we just doing this, or is this something that is legitimately, I mean, talk about, this is a Cadillac plan here. I don't know anybody who's getting this kind of money for the retirees. So I'd like to know why we're doing that, or if we need to continue to do that. Okay, we do need a motion if we're gonna, I think, we should probably
I
have,
move to approve the increase in the flex dollars.
Second that.
Second.
to, as discussed. Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Yes.
Do we have discussion on the motion? If not, all those in favor signify with aye. Aye. Motion passes. We have done that.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Anything else?
Thank you.
No, sir, that's all.
City Attorney's report?
Nothing.
Any other business to come before the council tonight? Good job tonight, council members. Lots of good discussions, difficult job. I think everybody did well, so thank you.
Yeah, we had a full house.
All right. This meeting is adjourned.
Latest
Yeah.
meeting.